O'clock. Thank you for being here. It's this Payson City Council meeting for March 5th, 2025. We'll start the meeting with prayer. Councilor Rowley will take care of that for us.
Our dear, kind, loving Father in heaven, Father, we are so grateful for this beautiful evening that we have together as officials and staff and residents of this great city. Father, we feel so blessed and spoiled to live in this city, state, and country. We pray for all of those that are making decisions that they may do so wisely. We pray that we may become more like our Savior, Jesus Christ. And Father, we express our gratitude for the moisture and snowpack and rain thou is blessing us with. And we humbly ask, Father, please be with us this night. Protect us, watch over us. And we pray for these things in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. Council Moss will take care of the leaders in the pledge.
Okay, please. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, we'll move on to C, consent agenda. Number one, approval of the February 19th, 2025 City Council minutes. Number two, resolution, Nebo School District interlocal agreements regarding Payson High School. Resource officer regarding Payson Junior High School and Mount Nebo Middle School resource officer. Number three, resolution, Utah Associated Municipal Power System operation and maintenance agreement. And number four, resolution, Enbridge gas agreement for high pressure gas line. Council, unless there's any discussion on these items of the consent agenda, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Roll call vote starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to D, petitions. CTC Mayor's Youth Recognition Award, Shelby.
Call your name, please come up and tell us your name, grade, and favorite thing to eat for breakfast. From Mount Nebo Middle School, we have Mia Morales Martin. Teachers have said Mia is a very kind person. She treats everyone very well and always brings a feeling of peace with her. She works hard to stay caught up in math and is very quick to help others. Mia is hardworking and responsible. They can always count on her to get her work done, advocate for herself, and be respectful. Mia is always quick to volunteer for Latinos in Action assignments and wants to help wherever she can. Even though it can be very scary for her, she is willing to share her thoughts and opinions with school leadership and other adults when she is asked, and does a good job advocating for students at our school. She is a true leader. Great job, Mia. Payson Junior High, we have Camden Rowley.
Captain Rowley, I'm in 8th grade, and my favorite thing for breakfast is waffles.
Teachers have said Camden is an incredible example of selflessness and service. Every single day, without being asked, he takes time after school to clean up his classroom, ensuring that both his teacher and classmates have a welcoming space to return to the next day. Camden is an exceptional student as well. He is consistently submitting top quality work, demonstrating his dedication to learning. His participation in class is unmatched. He engages fully, contributes thoughtfully, and brings a positive energy that lifts those around him. Great job, Camden.
That's right there. Like with the council. So, come on up beside, that's good to you. Somebody else can take a picture for Shelby. Okay, my turn. 1, 2, 3. Like to shake some. Congratulations on those accomplishments. Okay, moving on to number 2, I'll go ahead and open a public forum. Anything that's not on the agenda, you're more than welcome to talk about. Please be cognizant of your time and please identify yourself and we'll go from there.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Wendy Osborne, and I represent Tabitha's Way Local Food Pantry. Thank you for your service. I wanted to first, if I could, just report just some numbers. We are continuing on with our Payson mobile pantry here in our community. And I want to just report our 2024 numbers to you. In 2024, through the mobile pantry alone, here in Payson, Tabitha's Way served 1,890 households, 8,445 individuals, for a total of 380,025 meals through that mobile pantry service. Tabitha's Way as a whole served over 23,000, as a whole, when I say whole, it means Spanish Fork, and the Payson mobile pantry served over 23,000 households in 2024. Wanted to just share, if I could, just a couple of upcoming events. First, we have on March 15th, the Feed Utah Food Drive. It's a statewide food drive. And this is where our pantries receive a large portion of food donations. And so I just wanted to encourage the community to participate in this food drive. Tabitha's Way will have 3 drop-offs. The Macy's in Santaquin, Macy's in Spanish Fork, and also Tabitha's Way Food Pantry in Spanish Fork. So you can drop off your food donations there, and all of your food donations and the financial donations during this drive will go towards Tabitha's Way Local Food Pantries. So if you go online to tabithasway.org and donate funds, it'll go towards that local food pantry and feeding local families, or drop off those food donations. I will tell you that our organization continues to see a 30% increase in the number of families needing food assistance. So that is largely due to, of course, inflation, housing, population increase, and then, of course, we're seeing right now currently a lot of the food security safety net programs all being scaled back. And so as those continue to be scaled back, we continue to see more and more families in the food pantry. So we're reaching out to the community, just asking for your support to please donate food if you can, or donate funds. Our cost is 20 cents per meal. So for roughly for the price of a can of soup, you can provide we can provide 5 complete nutritious meals to families in need in our community. So I'd love to put a flyer on your up there for you as well. Just again, wanting to encourage the community to participate in that, and that's March 15th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then secondly, good news, Tabitha's Way has moved into a new location in Spanish Fork. We were like sardines in our other location, which couldn't quite fit. And so we were blessed to be able to have this opportunity to invest and purchase a building across the street from us. It's nearly double the size of our other food pantry. And we wanted to extend an invitation to Payson City leaders to please participate. We'd love you to come to this ribbon cutting. If you would also just scan the QR code and let us know that you're coming, but we'd love you to come. That ribbon cutting is planned for March 27th at 10 a.m. And so we'd like to have your representation for the city here as well. And of course, we'd like to invite the community as a whole to celebrate this occasion. We understand that everything we accomplish and everything we do it with the help of the community. So we want to say thank you for your help and support, and that we hope to see you there.
Thanks, Wendy.
Any questions?
Tabitha's Way is just a great organization. We're so thankful that you'll come here and bring your trucks to our community and help out so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Council members, my name is Richard Broadbent. I'm a local resident here in Payson. I'm here to, visit just for a few minutes about some things that I think that have been kind of happening here in the city, over the course of maybe the last, several years. That's kind of, hit home with me. I went up to the golf course just recently, this last summer, and as I was driving into the golf course, I came across some things that struck me. Very, very vile kinds of things towards women. And I guess one of the things that I'd like to state why I'm here is that I'm here to kind of say that as a community, we need to stand with women, not to stand against women in objectification of them as not sentient beings equal to us as men. I drove by the golf course. I was stunned by the things I saw. I asked for some slides to be made. I don't believe that those slides were made, but I think that you've received packets of what the material is. Yeah. I don't know if Payson City is trying to resolve this issue. I don't know what the history of the situation is, why this individual became angry. But obviously there's some really negative things going on around the golf course. Things that are quite demeaning towards women.
Yeah, and we're well aware of it. We've been working towards trying to solve that. We've been working with our police chief, and there are some issues that we need to address to resolve that, and we're actually trying to do that.
That's good. That's good. I think that's important. I think that as members of the city, we're interested in knowing what's going on.
Sure.
Because I walked into the clubhouse and I said, what the heck is this kind of stuff? You know, the gateway into our golf course for our community, it seems really, really lewd and really inappropriate. Having a group, you know, identifying itself as a testicle group, or having women being held in a kind of a derogatory way as some kind of a drink, is so inappropriate to me.
No disagreement there at all.
For the way that things have been. So that was one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about just a little bit. The next thing I wanted to talk about in regards to that was some things that were being made here in the city, in the Trikes building that was bought by the city. Some really negative kinds of images being projected on the storefront of the city. Sleep Tight, Poison Ivy. I don't know if the city gave permits for these things to be being made, because I drove around town when these were being made, and there was large production company from some movie house cutting and making film and, you know, shooting in our downtown area. I also noticed while I was there that one of the windows got broke. Somebody maybe got through the window. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I think as a city, if we don't think that this kind of stuff is important, we're in the wrong place. I think that we need to take a stand against this kind of stuff. And I don't know, was there a permit given for this kind of a movie to be made?
Well, it's my understanding during the filming of, and we have a number of films that have filmed down there, and so we entered into a rental agreement with them.
Is that what happened?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what Random House is providing this material, or where is it available?
I'm glad that you're concerned, and as are we, and we'll do our best to address those concerns.
It would be interesting, and it would be interesting to see that the discourse goes beyond perhaps just this moment.
Oh, it will.
That it's opened up,
and it already has.
So the people have the opportunity to speak their mind in regards to it.
Wonderful.
You know, I think that that's important. The third thing I'd like to talk about is the high school. We got a brand new high school. It's so exciting. It's going to be wonderful. I noticed right now that Spanish Fork City's bonded for $65 million to do a new physical recreation center in Spanish Fork. It's pretty close to the end of Spanish Fork. It could be accessible to Payson as well. But $65 million to be able to have pretty much the same kind of facilities that we have right now at the high school already. We have an underground track, we have indoor racquetball courts, we have 4 or 5 big basketball courts. I know this changes the course from where things are headed with Payson City, but we have a real opportunity perhaps to be able to garner a city center for the city that isn't just tore down and the life cycle is ended.
We've tried to address that with Riva School District, and that's something we have no control over. And
I understand that.
we've tried a number of times to maybe utilize parts of that building. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I understand that that's kind of the mindset that everyone's following right now, but there won't be another time in the history of the city that we'll have the opportunity to look at something like that.
You ought to go talk to the Nebo School District. That'd be the place to address, because yeah, we'd be happy to look at that, but
Right,
go visit with them and tell them your concerns.
yeah, well, I might have that opportunity, maybe I will.
And I fought really hard when it was first proposed to build a new high school,
Right,
to find a new place and keep that for purposes. But the numbers that were thrown back at us after we did a feasibility study, it was like $35 million just to get that building feasible. And that wouldn't include swimming pools and everything involved with it. And it really didn't work at all. And it does have to come down before the new one can even be open to the public because of fire lane and egress issues that are associated with it. So the ship's kind of sailed, but I did really try hard when it was first proposed
right,
that the new high school was coming, and it just
We
didn't work.
really have tried.
Yeah.
The
So
building is not necessarily the big problem. We could bond for a building and build it, but it's the continued operation of a recreation center that really takes a better retail prowess than we have at this point in time.
I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make note of it and hope that you're aware of it.
Appreciate you.
And we can work through some of the issues that we've got as a city. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Richard.
you. Come on up.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Scott Quigley. This is my lovely wife, Carolyn. And so I've actually come across a great opportunity. I'm with the Payson Community Theater. But along with that, I was actually given a chance to become an advocate, a volunteer for the Roots Health Center. If you're familiar with the one in Orem, they've actually now built a place in Pleasant Grove. So now that's their new home, and they're excited throughout Utah County. They have it's part of education, not just a theater. It helps the theater community. It helps with dancing. It helps with singing. There's a whole bunch of things now that they've built that they can expand and teach. But they'll get the word out and help everything like that. Like I said, we've now become advocates to actually go out into the community in our area. We've been, myself and my wife are both advocates for Payson and Santa Cruz. So there's other advocates all the way from Lehigh all the way down to this area. So we got the chance to be in our area.
Okay, so last month's initiative, or the last big theater production that they did, was Ragtime. It was our inaugural production, and they have 2 stages. They have a bigger stage that's 600 now, and then they have a 300 seat stage, which is very similar to the stage that they had in Orem. And if you've ever been there, the seats were squishy, and now they're a little bit bigger, so it makes it a lot more comfortable. But the last initiative for the Ragtime, they had us go out to the schools and distribute tickets to the teachers and they want the community to be able to come in and enjoy this facility, see what it's about, and we get the luck of being able to come and spread tickets out. Now, I understand as a city, you guys have a limit on what is you guys are able to take in as a gift. So I'm willing to stand out on the street and meet your department heads and say, okay, here are the tickets from a friend to a friend. Here are tickets for you to distribute to your friends that you work with.
What are the cost of tickets?
There's nothing. It's
No, as far as,
Oh.
They go from $34.
up to 55, and the voucher is for two, so you can take a date, a spouse, a friend. So, yeah, and so that's the problem that we are finding is there's limits.
Yeah.
But I know as a friend to a friend, we can do this.
I'm sure we can work through our staff and see what we can do.
Yeah. So, and since I'm friends with somebody, you know, I mean, I'd like to be able to just, but that's funny.
That you find out that they all went and there's still more people, we'll leave our name in that farm.
We have more.
We have more that we can actually do. We just want to make sure that the people are wanting them, you know, the people.
Yeah.
want to recognize them.
Just make sure our staff has your contact information, we definitely.
We'll do that, but we, yeah, it's just there's, you know, they really want the community to be able to come and see
We'd love
what
it.
it is. And a lot of it, and just so you know, the Roof is a nonprofit. They're not a money-making organization, so.
I actually benefited from one of the tickets as a teacher on a different avenue, and it is a very, very nice facility.
It
The
is.
seats are nice and comfy and it's beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife has tickets for Saturday,
Oh,
so for Cinderella.
yeah, we were only getting tickets, for the big theater, so.
Oh, okay.
But,
We'll do more throughout the dedication high school, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very nice facility. Glad you still have.
I
it
think
part
it's
of it.
really nice that they're wanting to reach out to the community itself. And we can like,
Keep there with us.
Yeah.
Please stay in touch with our staff. We'll be glad to support however we can.
Thank you.
Things I'll talk about before we we're going to be able to honor the Payson High School basketball state championship team. We're going to do that during the public forum. I see they're not here. Just I'll ask the council that you give me the flexibility when they arrive, interrupt what we're doing and honor them at that time. Council, is that okay?
Yes.
Need a motion or just?
I think we'll just break. Okay, anyone else like to come and address us during this public forum before we close? Not seeing anyone, we'll go ahead and close the public forum, and then we'll move on to staff reports. No staff reports, okay. Then we'll move on to council reports, starting with Council Christensen.
I don't have anything either.
Okay, wonderful. Maybe we'll just whiz through. Uh-oh.
I'm
maybe not.
sorry, I have something. So I'll be fast. So, and just something for the library. When you talk to them, they have that service called Libby that's for checking out and getting books. I use the audio thing there. But it used to be a year ago, I could get something and get something in a few weeks, maybe. I've had something now for 8 months. It's still 2 more months before I can get the audio. And there's 900 people waiting for this audio. And I do Louis Lamar too. And there's like 4 or 5 months wait for almost every book anymore. So maybe you can talk to them and see.
I think Donna is on. She is on.
That's
Yeah, for Libby, yeah. So Don, if you heard that, maybe that's something you look into because it's not practical anymore, so.
There, Donna?
You don't have to address it, but I just
Okay.
want to bring that up. The other thing is, 2 other things. One is, we have been designated for the historic downtowns at Tier 2, downtown. That just happened 2 weeks ago, and it gives us more opportunities for grants for some of the businesses downtown and remodel some of the buildings through the state Main Street program. Then the last one is I was talking to a developer this last week, and they had great compliments for our development services and our public work areas. And they did actually, and this needs to be on the record, they actually mentioned Travis' name particularly. And so just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
Take a bow.
Anyway, you guys do a great. You guys do a great job, and you know, 10 years, 15 years ago, this community was kind of known for being hard to work with, but it's changed 180 degrees. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Council Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Carl, I have a quick question for you. Did PCT find a home for this summer? Because is the high school gonna be not in operation, right?
Well, we anticipate the high school to be in operation by that time, but we do have Salem High School at the back.
Oh, very good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to mention Sean Black and I had the chance to go to Washington DC last week. And I want to thank him and UAMS and Payson City for the opportunity. We rubbed shoulders with our entire delegation, our senators and congressmen over there, and put a bug in the air about all sorts of things, from transformer lead times to power to nuclear, hydro, everything. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity we had to go. So thank you, Sean. That was a good time. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't generally take the opportunity, but I'll do it real quick. I did my mayor's message today to be put in the newsletter. Couple of highlights I'd like to highlight here. We're all concerned about water, about the figures. They will change because they have there's a storm that'll be coming through. But our snowpack is about 79% of normal. But of that snowpack, the water content of that snowpack is 104% of normal. So there's more water in that snowpack. And we're anticipating that there may be up to another foot of snow over this weekend. So after having said that, it looks like we're could be in fairly good shape for our water year, but that doesn't diminish the ability that we need to have to conserve our water resource. So, and then one other thing of note that I didn't get to explain too much in my newsletter is the new Maverick travel store that's being built. It'll be on the north side of the North Main Street interchange. The address is a little different. I think it's 67 West, 1130 North. And it's would be kind of hard to find, but it's where the old Browns horse arena was on the north side of the interstate. So just thought I'd mention those two things. Okay, Council Moss.
All I wanted to say today was congratulations to the basketball team, Payson High School basketball team. I was hoping they would be here by now. I hope they come. But it was an exciting game, and I'm so proud of them. And that's all I have.
First time in history.
First time in
Hopefully when they get there, we'll talk.
Pretty
about
awesome.
that.
Maybe with the
Thank
new
you,
building, then we'll continue to do that.
Yeah.
Council Hyde.
I don't think I think they.
Okay.
Donna is up there now.
Hmm.
Donna is.
Oh. Want to mention?
Donna, did you want to mention something?
Oh,
We still don't have any audio on that.
can't hear you, Donna. Sorry. Well, if we solve the problem with Donna's audio, then we'll stop. But we'll go ahead in the interest of time and go to E, action items. Number 1, resolution, Payson City fee schedule amendments. Kathy?
Just like to propose some changes to the fee schedule tonight. I won't go in great detail, but the first series of changes we want to propose is land disturbance fees. This revenue will go into the storm drain, so it'll help the EPA requirements and things like that we have with the storm drain. The second fee we have is we have some utility accounts that just have garbages. So we're proposing lowering a deposit for just those garbage accounts to $75 instead of the $250 that we normally charge. And the last change we're proposing is just a change in wording to the, excuse me, the impact fees that go to Salem. The fees that we charge will reflect what Salem has enacted.
Okay. Council, any discussion about what we just heard?
Could you scroll back up for me? So Travis, I had you look into some of our neighboring cities. Could you tell the rest of the council what you found out about how these compare to other cities around us? Because this raised some red flags for me because of the steep increase on some of these, and so I'd like you to explain what you found.
Yeah, so this is modeled after Salem cities. Our Dale, our new SWIP inspector, he basically just came from there, so we modeled it after that. But I looked at Santa Quinn's. Santa Quinn's is $350 a permit, and then Spanish Fork is still $150, but then they charge for everything else. Like if you touch their road or you block a lane or you cut into it, they charge you an extra fee for all that. So we looked at it, we based this off Dale's benefits, salary, truck, time, all that, so we can easily justify it if anyone wants to, look into that, but we just we're basically not even coming close to paying for his time and effort to go out and do these inspections and stuff, so that's why we're proposing to raise this so that it at least covers our costs.
And these are not impact fee, but one-time fees for the developers, and I just wanted to make sure that we're not the most expensive, but not the cheapest either, so I just want to be fair with everybody.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a correct statement.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll motion that we approve the Payson City fee schedule amendments as just presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have, motion has been seconded. I'll start with Council Hyde again.
Oh, yes.
Okay, Council Box.
Yes.
Council Healy.
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Going on to resolution, number 2, Depot Belt Loop Corridor Study Agreement. Travis, you're up. Yeah, you should have stayed up.
Right.
So Mayor and Council, this first one is an agreement so that where the Nebo Belt route will come in and tie into SR 198. This is a study to go south of there. So this will go down through Salem, Elk Ridge, Woodland Hills, Spanish Fork. So all of us plus the county are involved in this. So we decided the fair way to do it was rather than try to base it on population or anything else, we'll just split the cost evenly so that we can do the study and determine what that road width and, what it needs to be. Some of it obviously probably won't be built for 20, 30 years because some of it needs to go right through the all red orchard. So that probably won't happen for a while, but at least get the study and have a line, have the lines on a map. So that's what this agreement is. It's just to kick that off and share in that cost.
And council, I would just add to that, this is just sharing the cost of the matching funds. We're not covering the cost of the entire study. This is just the match.
So all the cities together make that match.
Correct. So this is part of that 6.77% match. That's all we're paying with all the rest of the entities in there.
Okay. Any discussion, Council?
How long do you think the study will take for it to complete it?
It'll take about a year.
Okay.
Studies are good. We need to have a plan, so.
They've already got like a 50-year.
They are in an ag protection, so that's why I said that it's not something that's gonna be built tomorrow by any means, but just when the time comes, it's on the map and everything, and we know what we need to do.
It's good to be prepared because that could change too. Okay, any further? Okay, if not, Council, I'm ready for a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution of the Nebo Belt Loop Corridor Study Agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. The roll call vote starting with Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Moss.
Yes.
And Council Hyde.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to number 3, resolution Quail Mountain Pioneering Agreement regarding utilities. Travis, you're again.
So Mayor Council, so this one is the Quail Mountain subdivision. It's south of South Haven. So it's on the east side of the community. The development, they built all obviously the roads and infrastructure, and on the east side of the development on 1400 East, there's a road with the utilities in it. So they just wanted a pioneering agreement. So if the property owner to the east does develop within this time frame that they reimburse half of those costs for that road and those utilities, so
How long is the agreement?
for 10 years.
10 years. That's pretty
So,
standard.
yeah, obviously,
make the longer?
we could, but we'd have to change the ordinance first. That's what our ordinance
We're
says.
gonna do that.
We did talk about it, but we haven't done it
Okay,
yet,
we
so.
need to get on that, whatever we.
When we get a new attorney, we'll jump right on.
Is it pretty standard though? Are there others that are longer?
We haven't looked at other cities and what their time frame is, but I definitely think, I don't think there would be any problem in changing ordinance to like 20 years. I don't think you'd want to go much past that. Cause then, you know, you start, I mean, infrastructure should last longer than that, but then you start getting into, you know, too long and who's gonna remember that you have it and so.
Yeah, and then after 20 years, we might want to put new in anyway, you know.
So
20 years.
10 years is probably, I mean, that's what we have to do right now, but I think we
No,
could look at
because-
changing the ordinance to 20 in the future and then let's get going.
Within 20 years, you lose capacity in those utilities, so that's why it would be more of a capacity, not an infrastructure.
Infrastructure? Main Street, the water lines are probably built 60 to 80 years ago.
And that's why we're addressing them now. Okay. Any further council discussion? Now I'm ready for a motion, council.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Quail Mountain Pioneering Agreement regarding utilities.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion with seconded, roll call starting with Council Hyde.
Yeah.
Council Moss. Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
And Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thanks for the kill slides.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Appreciate you. Okay, number 4, A-5-H zone development proposal located at 594 South, 2400 West. Michael?
I have a unique opportunity for you to consider tonight. This is a unique opportunity for a couple reasons. The first is because we've never actually done a proposal such as this where the A5H zone has some criteria. So A5H is kind of a subsidiary of our A5 zone. And in there, it has some language that says the A5H designation can be changed with a specific plan, a development proposal, or an appropriate zone change. So we are bringing to you tonight a development proposal for a field house. So just go ahead and take a look here at the screen. I'll have this zoom into kind of the area that we're talking about. The whole area of Payson here is over on the west side of the freeway and west of the railroad tracks. Lighting's a little hard to see, but Teresa knows exactly where it is. It is right here on this parcel. And so the request is, like I said, for a field house to be built here. But what we're doing here tonight would be one step out of 4 steps that would need to be taken in order for this to even come to realization. And this step is that process that I mentioned earlier of removing this parcel of property out of the A5H designation and just letting it stay as A5, but not be the A5H. And to do that, we're proposing this development proposal, which was in your packets. But before we get into more of that, I want to kind of take you on a staff review journey of kind of how we looked at this. So the question is, what creates value for property? There's several things, but a few things that I wanted to focus on was desirability and accessibility. So keep those in mind. How is desirability for a property achieved? Again, amongst other things, staff had a few things that we came up with. And they are amenities, the location, quality developments, and entitlements. Next question that we had, how is accessibility for property created? So accessibility, we've got our accessibility bowl there, and we fill it up with our accessibility salad. Sewer, utilities, water, power, trails, roads, sidewalks. There can be more, but these are some big ones.
Not much of a sub.
No.
I don't recommend it for dinner, but, so. Some of it might be worthy of croutons. So the two of those, we feel as if help us in deciding our recommendation to you tonight. To continue though, I want to talk a little bit about the Spring Creek area plan. And this is the map that was adopted with that plan. The applicant is in the area with the little purple star. And that's, you can see there's a tan area and there's a yellow area there. Those two areas are future land use designations. One of them is, the yellow is for residential dwelling units up to 4 units per acre. And then tan is for a mixture of residential dwelling units, meaning a variety up to 8 housing units per acre. So it could be quarter-acre lots, it could be townhomes. The reason why I wanted to point this out to you is because while a field house is not identified as a use in our residential zones, it is identified as a use in our A5 zone. But a field house can very easily develop and grow into something more, such as a recreation center. And I noted this in your staff reports. And a recreation center is a conditional use in all of the zones that this future land use designations show. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of feedback. Now we'll get back to our evaluation process journey. The next question I have is, how is a city plan realized? So this Spring Creek plan isn't just going to build itself, and it's not just going to happen. There has to be things come in place and things come about in order for this to happen. So I hope you're sensing a theme here. I put ability on every one of these. In order for a plan to develop, it needs to have developability. Developability is built upon marketability, availability, and profitability. Now, you can see that these pillars don't have a foundation, and that foundation, in staff's opinion, is accessibility and desirability. So coming full circle, we feel as if Mr. Martinez's proposal helps to build accessibility and desirability, and therefore is a stepping stone in helping to realize the Spring Creek plan. So tonight, we're talking about specifically his development plan. Ariel's request helps build accessibility and desirability. And it does so for his and surrounding properties. And then, like I mentioned before, this is the foundation for realizing the Spring Creek plan. Now, City Council only has a single part in this process, but it's a very important part because none of the other processes can happen without council's approval. Whether we do this development proposal or whether there was a zone change. But what's before you tonight is this request for a development proposal approval. After this, Planning Commission would then hear this as a conditional use application, and they can assign conditions to this that would relate to any of the concerns related to a field house in the area. And then the final two would be staff review processes, such as site plan and building plan approval processes. So council tonight is here to consider this development proposal. And with your consideration of this, you can also consider some reasonable conditions that you would want to place on this if you chose to make a positive recommendation and approval on this. My recommendation to you on conditions would be think about building design, because that is one that we cannot enforce as strongly at the other levels. But hours of operation and neighbor concerns can be done at the planning commission level. But if you have concerns with that, you can definitely voice those, and you can either have those in as a condition yourselves, or you could request that they be a condition at planning commission. I would just also voice that concerns related to infrastructure, utilities, roads, parking, those sort of things will be addressed in our site plan process, but we're more than willing to hear whatever you would have concerns related there too. So with that, staff recommends approval for this development proposal for the following reasons. It'll help improve the utility accessibility by bringing power to the area. It will also create that desirability in and around the area, which will lead to further development and the realization of the Spring Creek plan. And then the last thing I just put down there as an asterisk is we would recommend a condition that the applicant could defer water, sewer, and pressurized irrigation for his site until those things come closer to the property, for example, 300 feet. He would still need to have water and septic systems, so he'd have to have a well, a septic system, he'd have to have water storage for fire suppression, things like that. And you'd have to irrigate his property, so, but they wouldn't be connected to our city system, so.
So you better leave that slide up though as we get through this, but this to me feels really similar to the one that was done at the Benjamin exit. Same type, same style, has to have the water tank. I'm sure they're on sewer and well out there as well. So I mean, it's kind of fits that rural community look and the bill. It is definitely a little bit ahead of its time as far as what's going on out there. But like you said, you've got to start somewhere. And that availability, desirability, all the abilities there, I think it fits. I know I've heard a little bit of pushback from the people out in West Mountain that they're not wanting it there. And that is tough. And this is one of those that nobody leaves happy, I'm afraid, because it's when do you start to move forward and what do we do? But I just wanted to make that comparison to the one in Benjamin, that it's similar to that one. So.
I just have a question. Was the legislature, was it us that made it so that the people around it didn't get any notification?
So you're talking about this request?
Yeah.
There isn't any noticing that's a requirement for what he's doing. There's not even a notice requirement for the conditional use permit application process. And so that would be the reason why our code doesn't require any of that noticing. And to some degree, since it's an administrative process, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a notification. I mean, it's nice for people to know what's being proposed, but it's not one of those legal processes that's part of our ordinances.
So what if there's already plans going on out there for nice homes, and you want to put a 2-story metal building right next to nice homes? How does that, you're taking something commercial and putting right next to residential. How does that affect? Seriously, I've never heard you guys talk like this before, trying to get us to understand stuff. Like, no one's ever done that in my 8 years of being here. I don't understand what you just did. because you're trying to get us to accept something that, like, if it were something that even fit out there, like all the people that are doing horses and things.
So
But the thing is I came up myself and tried to get just a septic tank, like on an acre, just for a house. So why would we give him a septic tank? Why would we not make him bring out the utilities? Just like anybody else that's gonna, it's been stopped out there for that very reason. You will not allow, our ordinances will not allow people to build stuff out there unless they bring the utilities, unless it's gonna be a 5¼ acre home and farm. Then they can have their sewer, their septic tank, and they can have their well.
I
You
think,
tell me why.
I think you're comparing apples and oranges a little bit here. One, residential development is required to have a certain lot size to be able to have a septic system and a well on it. And from what I understand, that's 5¼ acres.
Well, that's what it is right now.
Right.
Because they just went along with what the county is. But you can have a septic and well on an acre lot if your ground, if your soil can handle it, which, like on my place, most of the places, it can handle an acre lot. There's places it can't.
And that could be something that could be considered in our code. I mean, right now, that A5 code, the minimum lot size is a 5-acre lot. So I mean, that could be something considered. But coming back to this field house situation, there's 3 places in the city that a field house is conditionally permitted or permitted. Number 1 is the A5 zone. Number 2 are both, 2 and 3 are both commercial zones. I think the general commercial is a conditional, and then the special highway service zone is permitted. And so this is something that's a permissible use in the A5. The only reason why we're here tonight is because this area has the sub-designation of A5H.
Well, don't we have the plan for out there for what it's gonna be?
Mhm.
So basically, you're asking us to change the plan after just a little over a year.
Not necessarily, because this is a use that could actually be complementary to residential use.
So you clear out there, there's
Because
nobody out
we've
there.
already provided the idea in our code that you have residential zones, but then we also list some additional things that could go into those residential areas.
Maybe in 20 years, when the homes are out there.
But the residential zone is primarily the main plan.
Correct,
Okay.
and that's the designated future plan.
With
Could you pull up the map again?
Yeah,
Michael?
pull up the map.
How far off
With
of
the
that
different
main
colors.
road are we gonna land with this? Is it,
This is right there.
if it's
Right there.
right on that road, that's
And that's gonna be the main
that 800 south
drag.
So that road, you can see 790 that's down there. So this is probably approximately 690, 650, something like that, if and when that goes through.
Have we named that road yet?
No, because there's not an actual road that goes east and west right there.
Okay,
We just-
but that has been classified and reserved as corridor preservation through MAG, correct?
No,
Or is that just the dashed line that is preserved?
It's on the map.
it's on the map,
It's
nothing
on the
we
map
started yet.
designated. as-
We are working with Ariel to acquire the right of way for that road through corridor preservation funds, yes.
But
Okay.
This project would
Correct.
actually have frontage on that road.
Correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to the issue of a septic tank, we can grant permission for a septic tank only if the county will allow it in that particular area. Is that right? Because the county controls septic tanks.
I believe that's correct, but I would defer that to Travis.
I think the existing home out there, don't they already have a permitted well and septic
The
system?
well's very, very small, and the septic system only handles
Residential.
their own house, which it's old, it's from 1972.
So you'd have to upsize it, improve that. The well, the field house, if you've been in the one off the Benjamin exit, it's only got a couple of bathrooms in it. So it's not like they're a high water usage, less than a normal house.
Well, I know when she got the water permit, it was just for the house,
So,
to drill the well that she had to drill.
so that's something that he would have to work through on his end to make it feasible for him to do.
That would be part of the condition.
And as part of that, the fire suppression system that will be required for this building will probably require him to have a 30,000 gallon silo on site. So whether or not that plays into all of that calculations, I don't know, but
Would you like one of those right for your house?
a silo?
Yeah.
It's in West Mountain. There's silos all over out there, is there not?
Oh, no, they're most of them been down.
But that, I mean, it's just a tank with a steel building around the outside of it is all they really are. And then when they tie into the proper water supply that can actually handle it, they take those tanks out. But I've installed a few of them and seen them. They're not an unsightly item to me, but
How wide is the road going to be? Do we want it to be a
Are you
5-lane
The one
road?
going east-west, I believe it's, Jonathan, is it like 100 something?
It's 120-foot right of way. It has a 10-foot trail on the north side, 6 or 5 foot sidewalk on the south side.
How many lanes? Like, does it have a turning lane in the middle?
I believe it's a 5-lane road with bike lanes. It's a regional connector or a regional arterial road, so it's a lot wider than what our normal arterial would be.
it's a continuation of 800 south.
Right, and so I think my gut tells me that once this goes through, if we ever get the bridge over both railroad tracks and it continues from the freeway all the way out to, what is it, 2900 west, 5600 west out there, UDOT will then take over the road from the freeway all the way out, because they also, I mean, they own 5600 west, and that's another regional arterial road.
So when the road is made and with that wide of a road, when the residential buildings come in, are they facing onto the road? Are we planning on, or have we gotten that far? The front is gonna be on that busy road, or is it just gonna be access to apartments and townhomes on that road?
So Michael and I actually met with our developer, potential developer that I believe has been talking to Teresa about her property. And they had a layout, and it had townhomes, it had single family, it had a variety of, I think it was townhomes and then 3rd-acre single families, and it had a commercial section. Well, after looking at it, the commercial area would go really well along this new road right across the street from the field house. And then if you line the townhomes along the new road on the south side, then you can have the 3rd-acre lots further south off on the north, on the south of the townhomes along the whole stretch, and then only single family on the north side. And it was a really great design. We thought it would actually be really fantastic to have. On top of that, they would build the entire road through their portion. They would bring all the utilities out. They've already been talking to White Horse developers. Chris Wall, they've talked to him already about potentially coming back into the city now and, getting utilities and, so the process is there, and this developer he did not think that having the field house there was a bad idea. He actually really was glad to see that something was going to be there that would help, boost his development.
We didn't choose them.
Okay.
So with a field house, what happens in a field house?
So it's mostly for indoor soccer, during the winter times.
For clubs or?
For whatever. If Mr. Martinez decides to lease it to a specific club, if he decides to rent it out for, for tournaments, for whatever, that's his prerogative.
And
So-
we're out in a park.
Now, how do we deal with parking?
So that would be handled in the site plan process. And well, we've got two schools of thought there. Our code does not identify specifically in the parking requirements a field house. So our recommendation to him, Ariel Martinez, is to do a traffic or a parking study by a traffic engineer to give us an assessment of how many parking stalls would be needed. And then that would be given to Jonathan to review and make a final determination on how many parking stalls we needed.
So would the applicant pay for that study?
Yes. The second school of thought is possibly a little excessive, and that would be to treat it like a recreation center, even though it's not fully a recreation center as a field house.
And go by square footage.
And do the square footage, and that would constitute like 225 stalls, which is like, seems like quite a deal.
Oh, it's not. So it's not like, so for this field house would, is he planning on having membership? Only members can come use it? Is it the elite leagues that are all over Utah?
It's like the high beneath.
He's here, let's let him.
I mean, it's a little soon, right, to kind of dictate
Yeah.
exactly, but,
Right.
if you've ever been to the one in Spanish Fork, and I'm already on Martinez, I actually was born and raised in the county, so happy to be here. But it's, I mean, we have, if you've ever been to the one in Spanish Fork, they have batting cages for the kids playing, baseball, you got soccer. They do events like for Super Bowl Sunday, they'll have like games for Super Bowl, so it's really just a big field indoors for whatever sports that we can accommodate there. So majority would be soccer, because my kids all play in club soccer, but we obviously want to be able to do it for whatever sports, so, yeah,
When
So is it
you
gonna
say the
have-
one,
sorry.
go ahead.
when you say the one in Spanish Fork, it's the one by the freeway, right?
Well, there's actually two, there's the one
And
in
there's-
Benjamin,
And
and then
then,
there's one in actually Spanish Fork Main Street, it's right by, Carlos.
yeah,
Wiggy
I'm
Wash.
familiar, but that will eventually be Spanish Fork, cause it, they're by, well,
It's
it's,
across the street from the new rec center is one. they-
yeah, but the one on the freeway, that's actually Spanish Fork, boundary lines. too.
There's also one in Nephi. It's called the Hive.
Okay,
How big is your parcel of land that you have right now?
5.5 acres.
5.5, okay, and there's an existing home on the property right
There's
now.
an existing home there.
And, yeah, this is a tricky thing because nobody wants, especially the West Mountain residents, don't want to see it grow and change out there. And I think
understand.
there's some fear and trepidation about this lighting the fuse, right? But, the question is, when do we light that fuse? And, is it coming inevitably, and are we just kicking the can down the road and losing more and more control the longer we wait to make decisions out there? And,
I
I guess,
actually play soccer with some of the neighbor kids too, so.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
know that some of the neighbors, obviously, I know Scotty too.
yeah. And so I guess for me, as I've looked around some of these other buildings, for me, what can we do to make the building itself look a little more attractive than a Cleary building, with a
So
sign?
have you ever seen the one in Spanish Fork by chance?
I have, yeah,
Yeah.
and that one's better. It's on the right track, but it's still a little industrial. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, that was, again, it is a field house, the one in Salem's the same way.
yeah,
Obviously, I mean, cost is a big issue, right?
right,
I'm trying to do as much as I can to get that there, but it has to be as a field at a
yeah,
price, right?
yeah, it has to
So
be,
that's
some,
kind
I
of where I'm at
understand,
too.
yeah,
I would be trying to help by running the power out there too. I mean, that's a little bit more cost than I thought. But as far as the exterior, I don't, until I actually get it. Kind of hard to say, right?
yeah.
So,
But
but
once-
my thought was like the one in Spanish Fork, I guess.
But
when
Michael,
you say
we could,
Spanish Fork, the one by the baseball field or by
By
the
the one with
freeway?
the car wash.
The car wash,
Mhm.
that's pretty nice building.
and Michael, we could
There's not
control
much-
some of those design elements further down the road, or once you make this decision, it's all staff. Will this ever come back to us or planning commission again, if this were to be approved?
So after this meeting, we will take it to planning commission for the conditional use. But it will never come back to the city council.
I guess my concern is, we've been asked several times to change or reconsider general plans and zoning. That's all I was gonna say.
Well,
So this is currently in an A5 holding zone, right? And all we're trying to do is take it out of the holding aspect of it and move it into the A5.
It'll still be A5.
It'll still be A5. so
But
it's just-
A5 is,
They don't do commercial, that's a commercial building.
that's a commercial building. When looking at the colors on the map, we were mainly thinking it was all gonna be residential, really.
And-
So we're kind of changing it.
But is it a bad thing to get rid of townhomes? That's the real question.
Yeah, one thing I look at too is this general plan is that you have to look at it, you aren't gonna designate every little thing that's gonna come into it. You have to look at everything individually. It's like it was a big thing that's taking 30 acres and putting this big thing into it, but when you can't, when you make a general plan like this, you can't go in and say, well, we think the field house should go here and we think some should go here and we think something should, it's a general plan and then you have to mold around it. That's the way I look at it.
So, and just to be clear, this is only designating density for housing units. It doesn't necessarily take into effect what other uses would be permissible in a zone that would allow that type of housing. And so that's why I was making the comparison to a rec center, which would be permissible in all of those residential zones. And then as you can see, if this is a 5-lane highway type of road, I don't think we want residents fronting on that by any means. But if we do have residents on that, we want to have some sort of a buffer that, again, doesn't front on that road, but at least almost creates a wall of residential development that buffers noise and light pollution and things like that for development in both north and south. So I don't think that they are incongruent with each other. I think, like I said in the presentation, this is a stepping stone to help realize this plan. It's not changing the plan.
And what can we do to alleviate my concerns that I have about the traffic in the meantime until we have a big road out there?
What kind of traffic, I guess, you're asking, what kind of traffic are we gonna have? Do we need a traffic study to allay those fears?
Let Travis talk to it.
In essence, think of this as Arrowhead Trail. You have those two big developments going on out there and that road is narrow and it functions just fine right now, so. I mean, yes, ideally it would be awesome to widen it all the way down, but we have that in quite a few areas where you have a development that's widening it. And then you have the narrow road that was the county road that existed. So obviously, as it keeps developing, that road will get wider and accommodated much easier, but it's similar to that situation.
And then if we approve, does he have to stick to the particular use of a field house, or can he jump ship and change his plan on us of what he would put there if we change? Remove the H.
No, you would have to stick to it because this is a development proposal that you're approving. And so he has to, now, he could deviate from what it looks like and he could deviate from the size, but you're approving basically a field house here. Could that field house in 10, 20 years become a rec center? Possibly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. But as your approvals go, it would have to be done according to what's presented in the proposal.
I guess maybe there he's thinking maybe it could be a place for manufacturing, something like that, eventually, something like that.
So it looks industrial.
Yeah, and I think if for some reason that didn't work, it's still an A5 agricultural zone, so you could put one house for 5.25 acres, that's all we have. So I think it's pretty limited on what you can do there if that thing didn't work. But it's like we talked about this too, because every zone talks about the housing side, R1 7500, the R1 10, but there's other things that go in there, like churches go in there, and that's not housing style. There's other parks, there's other things that go in there that's.
But those look better than corrugated metal.
No, I understand,
I'm
just saying, I think Brian said that you don't list, you put other uses that are in there, but it's not all housing. And the A5H does allow this type of thing to go in an A5 zone.
And I think if design is one of the major concerns, then put that as a condition of improvement.
Well, there's already still metals up there. She has one on the back of her house.
And then, and to his point that, you know, down the street, we've got agriculture with double wides and clearing buildings already.
So. yeah.
I'm concerned because when we approved this or came up with this plan, we had a lot of protest from people out there with roads going through people's properties and they didn't like even this layout. So I'm concerned, that even though we weren't by law required to notify anyone what's going up around their properties, I think it's the right thing to do to let people know. Whether we do that anyway, I think it's the right thing to do. It shows integrity and honesty and transparency, letting people know what's going up around them. Even though it's not on their property, it affects them directly, especially if it's connected to their property line.
And that road is not near wide enough for more traffic. It is not. I mean, you're going off the road when somebody else comes down.
We're already having that problem on the north side of town.
Yeah, it's not like it's really just an old country road. It is not wide enough for two vehicles.
The one in Benjamin's really narrow too. It's never
way
been changed.
It's still way
It's a-
wider than
it's a
mine.
big
We know
curve.
that.
Yeah.
Because I take the one on that road.
There's a lot of metal barns out there, let's be honest. Everything that goes out there is two stories of metal.
They're not planning a whole subdivision. You've got the people across
He's
the
not
road.
planning a
It
subdivision.
could have 40 cabins.
There's not.
But there is subdivisions gonna come in there.
I
That
know.
want bigger homes.
And as they do, that will have to be wide.
And so to me, well, wouldn't he have to widen his road?
It's frontage.
He could, yes, his frontage.
But it's still, it's getting to the point. Like the Jensen's house is almost on the road. Everybody's house, like just coming down, even the church. You're gonna have to ride the road all the way down. To make it room for people to come and go, especially if you have, 30, 40, 50 kids and you have some kind of a tournament there. Where are they gonna park? This is what I'm saying. Where are they gonna park? They're not gonna park on my property.
It's 5 acres.
I know.
There
and I've
should be
seen where
plenty-
I've seen where you've got your post. And then the rest of it's gonna have to be parking.
Yeah. And if
And
that's,
it's not enough parking. I've been to those places. I see how much parking it takes.
If you go to Benjamin, there's no problem with parking there. There's not.
So that's identified, like I said, through the site plan process. You could definitely have that as a condition that it be something considered and that study be done. And that would be just some added weight for that. We've got to be reasonable with parking, understanding that yes, we need to make sure we accommodate the use, but it's got to be reasonable for the use. We don't want to have a sea of parking lot that's vacant a lot as well.
Well, and that's what it will be, except for when they do practices and games. Because you're just gonna have this big blacktop with lines. And then when they have games and stuff, they're gonna be all lined up along the road.
Yeah.
And there's not enough room.
I'd invite anybody to go to the Benjamin one because
No, there is not.
There's no.
They look out there, they know. I'm not attacking you.
I think it's only fair that,
I-
we have the applicants here, we should have the other people that it would affect as well. My whole thing is that we approved this plan thinking that it was gonna be residential, yes, with some other conditions. But I don't know if this is what we wanna start with. I'm not entirely convinced yet.
Well, we've had a pretty good discussion. I think in some ways, we're just going around in circles. So, if it's okay with the council, if there's some new ideas, we're glad to vet those, but if not, I'm ready for a motion on the side.
The one thing I was gonna mention is that does have to go before a committee one more time. Is that maybe a place we can put an open forum? And allow.
But we've already made our choice. No, it doesn't come back to us.
Well, no, it would go to our, planning and zoning, our development group.
So it's not a requirement of our code to send out courtesy notices, but that could be a condition of approval that courtesy notices be sent out for the planning commission meeting.
Let's see if we agree. if we're-
I have a question, if, the thing I don't understand is, sorry.
Like,
Like,
we're
On the microphone.
it's not really a public hearing, but come on up.
This is my brother. I have a
That's
question,
fine.
so if I understand correctly, it's on 5 acres space, right? We're following what is required in that zone. A field house is required, in other words, it's allowed. You know,
But it comes down to what we want our.
Right,
our
right,
city.
right. Your requirements, I have to, buy, you know?
Yeah.
I have to buy.
Because we don't have to put anything other than residential.
Right.
So.
So I understand that, so I was like, if you guys say no, or we can't abide, then you pretty much told me, like, I don't have no say what to do with my property.
You can do what it says out there.
Right,
That's part of it.
so that's what I'm saying, that's
I
part
know
of it,
you
it
can
falls,
do houses.
right, but it also has so many.
I think it's just getting, it's like you said, I think it's gonna come to a point where you guys are gonna have to decide.
Yeah.
Obviously, it does meet the criteria as far as the field.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It is fair, and I understand in this high.
I think we've had a pretty good conversation about it. That's why I'm leaning towards just going ahead and asking the council for a motion on this.
40 townhomes.
I'm willing to make a motion that we approve the A5H zone development be changed to an A5. And move the H.
Is there a
Is,
second?
is there,
Oh,
I think there's more that we need than that.
you want to?
Based upon the proposed, development, yeah, let me get the verbiage and I'll start over for you, Kim, for your sake.
There is a resolution that I sent out kind of late, my bad, but it's on there. If you want to go that direction.
Staff would only suggest the condition of deferral of the utilities until it makes reasonable sense to connect to them. But you might consider design, and that would be the things that.
And in my opinion, I think a rock or a brick wainscot around something like that goes a long ways on the face.
A veneer or something. like
Yeah, and not necessarily the whole way up. I'm just talking like a 3-foot wainscot on the front.
Well,
just
because
to-
eventually it won't be the only building out there.
Right.
And so I think we need more information, maybe go back to the drawing board. I don't know.
Well, that's
Oh,
the
what we wanna
beauty
start with.
of politics is we can throw this out there, we can propose it and shut it all down too.
What?
We can start with the high-rise apartment.
I wouldn't either, to be quite honest.
We should just start with like a nice.
Great, we'll go ahead and make your motion.
I was trying to see if this resolution would help.
Just one also quick reminder, the fact that it is a permitted use in the zone, you have to keep that in mind.
Yes.
A conditionally permitted use.
Conditionally permitted use.
in the zone.
Conditional.
Right, which gives them the right to.
And your decision is not to decide if the condition is allowed, your decision is just to take off the H.
Right.
And make your motion, Brett.
Could open up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know their sense, you better take this.
Oh, no, you can take it.
No, I'm-
just having a couple ideas. Make sure if in deferring utilities that we do accept, they still have to put
Yeah.
power in.
Yes.
And then we want to do something with the outside of the building to make it.
And
Right.
parking and a public forum for the planning commission.
You two got this.
Go ahead.
I just think we should be careful because this could open up.
Definitely, and this is a can of worms and it is tough, and I apologize in advance. And all I'm doing is putting the proposal out there, because that's what they've asked me to do is, I know, but I'm just putting it out there, then we all vote. I just have to get.
to play in the winter.
That's
Yeah.
that's enough. We've heard enough.
Okay, all right,
Heard enough.
all right, I'm making a motion that changes the effect in this room. I make a motion that we approve the zone development proposal from an A5H to an A5 contingent upon deferring power to unless it's within 300 feet, or deferring utilities except power until they're within 300 feet, securing the corridor preservation, and as well looking at staff to ensure that the exterior design will fit the future use of the area.
Parking.
and to ensure that there's adequate parking for the facility.
And did you want to add the
And
public
public
notice?
forum in the planning commission.
And told them to, and add a public notice for the planning commission. The. So, and did I get it all? I think I got it all too.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Roll call vote starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Hyatt, oh, Council Hewlett,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Moss,
No.
and Council Hyatt.
You might have to state that I live next to him and it's a no.
Okay, so we have 3 positive and 2 negative. Motion carried. Okay. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yes.
Michael,
thank
I
you.
liked your salad analogy.
I knew it was gonna be the key to.
And it was the sewer comment, you put sewer on top, that's where that came from.
Okay, we'll move on to the work session. Dave, are we gonna?
The sewer bonds. The minute that we assign those, basically accepted those loans, we start paying on those regardless of whether we've used it or not. This one you don't. And this loan, you can kind of, you can set up your payment plan to be like a 35 to 40 year time period. So you obviously have a longer period. I mean, we just have a lot of growth coming, and obviously, if you don't do it with the road, you will never get utilities in there, because they're not gonna let you go cut a brand new road and then throw all these in there. PRI cannot put these, they cannot pay for this right now. Most of this, they will probably reimburse us for, but because they are obviously the church, they cannot do this, because then it takes their tax exempt status out until they actually are ready to start developing and building homes.
So this would fall underneath that pioneering agreement that maybe we need to get changed to 20 years.
Yes, plus we would be the one getting reimbursed, obviously, not somebody else, but.
Yeah, and we would hope that reimbursement just passes through and pays this down.
You know, same with the water tank. We're not that far off from needing a new water tank. And, you know.
Well, this one kind of looks a little different to me because we're not obligated to take it all. Should we apply for 3 water tanks? And if we need them in the next 8 to 10 years, they're there, that funding's there, we've got the cheaper rate. It will help us as taxpayers in the long run, and it's not like we have to take it.
Yeah, I should have had this drawing up, but I didn't think about it. So based on where growth is coming, you're gonna need a water tank on the east side of P Mountain to do all of the area I just showed you. If White Horse and all them start developing on the west side over by Teresa's place, you're gonna need another water tank over there above the Highline Canal, kind of where Patterson is. We can't.
Down there?
What about one on West Mountain?
There could be also one there.
Just go ahead and change that number to 3 right now then. Because that would feed all of them. And I'm not, I mean.
You're not joking, are you?
No, and I don't know that it's something we need to overlook.
So, and the good thing about this is, even if we.
That's just the upsides of the water line.
If they approve.
Oh, that's true.
They approve, say let's just, easy numbers, we say, okay, we want 100 million. They approve us for 100 million. And then we go and we start doing projects and we draw 2 million out for one project. We're only paying interest on the 2 million.
And we only have to come up with 20% of that.
Well, no, you have to pay back everything that you draw.
Right, no, I understand that, but we have to find other means of financing.
Yes, you can't get 100% of the money from this.
No, but if we got 80% of this and as the developers came in and paid the 20% upfront as their impact fees or their infrastructure building up or whatever it would be.
What Lithia wants to see is that our utility rates can back it up. So even if.
So you don't want to put $1 billion on there because we can't back it, but
Right.
we need to be somewhat reasonable.
So even if we drew 2 million out, we don't have to start paying on it until it's like 7 years after construction's complete.
Yeah, I think this is really good money, and I like that.
And part of the rush on this is we have a lot of development pressure in the northeast area, plus UDOT has kicked off the design of the interchange. Like, if we don't get it if we don't figure out if we want utilities in there or not, like, we're gonna miss the boat, and we have to tell them we're out. And it's about 140,000 just in the engineering fee to have Horrocks put our utilities in their design.
Were they taking core samples out on I-15?
Yes, they have.
And UDOT, when local governments participate in a project like that, UDOT requires the funds upfront. So we'd have to throw 140K at UDOT right now, basically.
So we're gonna have to do it sometime anyway.
So
Question, if we get approved for WIFIA funding, how long can it sit there? Like you say, you only pay interest on what you take out, cause we take out 5 million and then we don't take another out for 5 years?
I believe so. So they like to see, as part of your proposal, you have to have a project, they want to see a project that's shovel ready. So we would have to include something else, and even if we just included a water line replacement project with it, something that's quick and easy, but shovel ready. And that buys us time to finish all the design, get to the construction point on this. But yes, you have a long time to draw on it and use it up. And they want people to use this money. And so it's not a competitive program, it's not a competitive process. You submit your proposal, EPA will review it and say, yeah, this looks great, you guys are approved to apply. And that's when you pay your application fee. And basically, once they say you're approved to apply, they've already earmarked the funds for you. And so then it's just doing paperwork after that. And then you have, I don't remember what the time frame it was to start construction.
So why
Once you get approved.
Main Street's utilities on there that we were talking, there's those 2 blocks that aren't there, there's your shovel ready. That would be your instantaneous, if this money came tomorrow, we could dig a hole tomorrow.
Yes.
It's ready to go, it's engineered, we know what it needs.
We absolutely could throw the water
I would
lines.
put it on there and that would be your shovel ready, and then that would seal the deal, that's like your, I don't know what you call it, consummation or whatever to the program.
I mean, obviously, I know we've talked with Dave and Kathy, we have a lot of debt with the sewer plant and other projects we've done over time, and this adds a lot more debt, but it's kind of one of those, if you don't do it now, we're just gonna have to punt and say, we're not doing it. So I'm not emotionally attached either way, whichever way we go, but we just need to make a decision, are we wanting to go this direction or not? Because the door's almost closed to where we can do it if we're gonna do it.
The way I look at it, though, we have a source to pay this back. It's not gonna come out of the taxpayers. It's gonna come out of the developments that come. We got a long enough time. We know that's gonna be developed in 20, 25 years. So this will be paid off. It's not gonna be the city paying for it.
Between pioneer agreements and impact fees and.
Right.
Just utility rates, once we do our rate studies, because we will have to update it, we'll have to do rate studies and update our utility rates and show that they're in line. Because EPA will require that. But once we get all of those in line, then yes,
Does this include tying the villages at Arrowhead back to our own sewer plant? Or will they always be back there?
It could. But you're right, for example, Main Street is a perfect example, it's shovel ready, we have plans for it. It's a water project because it's replacing water, PI and sewer in 2 blocks of Main Street. That's a perfect example of, we have a shovel-ready project. We're gonna start with this. We're gonna start with this.
They're shovel ready.
And then we're going to add this project with lump it all together. You can do as many projects as you want lumped into this. I just wanna see that you're actually gonna start moving on something.
So what was the interest rate? I can't remember.
It's competitive,
It's whatever the Treasury Department.
Interest rate is equal to or greater than the US Treasury rate of a similar maturity.
Say that again.
The Treasury rates.
The Treasury rate.
Which treasury rate?
US
Similar
US treasury rate,
Whatever we put in there.
Yeah. but they
not the
got-
Mexican treasury.
Well, short term.
Right, they
Isn't
took
this
whatever.
through the EPA?
they did.
Yes.
Loan.
Have you counted you in, because they're going
Oh,
through some severe
okay.
cuts,
So you
is
can have a
funding gonna
30-year
survive?
treasury.
That's what Kathy brought up. There may not be money left, but they still apply, I guess, if that's.
I mean, there is, the first initial step is free, then once you get to the next step, there's like a $25,000 cost to apply. Out of there, and then I can't remember. If there, I think there was
I don't remember.
I can't remember if there was like, it gets up, like, there is a certain fee that goes along with it, but it's like, I don't think it was over 100,000 at the end of the day. And then that can count towards your portion of that 20% anyway, so. But like I said, I'm not emotionally attached, we just wanted to present this because if we don't do something.
You can't include power with it.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's a water fund.
So I know we asked that lady about.
Otherwise it'd be.
Looking at.
I'm just getting so excited.
Put the
Oh,
water plant in
counts
here
at the
with a
top.
better rate and she.
You should have a good- yeah.
She ever gets back.
I don't think we ever followed up with her to see if we could kind of put the sewer plant in and draw on the WIFIA to then pay off the bond and.
Yeah, I had asked that question when she was.
Yeah.
Right.
So
We gotta follow up on that. The other thing I'm looking at, this will go to this little more with the transportation tax. But if we're gonna do, if we get money for roads, we ought to be looking at the rest of our roads for a 5-year, 10-year plan. Here's all the rest of the roads we're gonna need input, water lines and sewer lines underneath the.
800
Put that
east.
in here.
Well, and
800 west.
so the beauty of this is too, if you like 800 West is a full rebuild, right? And it's all water line, it's all water driven, storm drain sewer.
Right.
Water, PI. The cost to rebuild the road on top of the utilities can be included as part of the project funds. So it's not like you have to pay for the road part separate. It's all part of the project. You obviously can't replace the utilities without doing the road.
If you're just building a road on top
Right,
of it.
you can't use it just to go out and mill and overlay a road, but if we're rebuilding all the utilities, then we can.
So as part of that 20%, I'm not really 100% sure, because we have to pay for 100% of this, but we're talking about this 20%. If we brought back out our own paving machine and paved over the top of, say, 800 West, and that was 20% of it, that would cover that, they would pay for everything under the ground, and
That gets against state code.
we can't.
If it's over a certain amount, which is probably that 180 to 190,000.
You put out the bid.
You have to put it out to bid by state code.
No, and that's fine, I'm just thinking, trying to think ahead, but
Out of the box.
out of the box.
You didn't want to say that, did you?
So one
Try
thing,
not to.
one thing, if we did do the other roads, that wouldn't be paid by somebody else. Eventually, the taxpayers would have to pay for that part of it. Because it's not it's not a, anything that.
Right.
Yeah, if you were just talking about doing road projects that had no water component, then yeah.
No, it with the water component, but where this is all gonna be paid by the church or developers. If we did our road that's already there,
How-
did the water component.
how's-
we'll end up having to pay.
How's that all gonna be paid by the developers? We're bonding for this, we gotta make the payment.
We don't have to make the payment, but as they build it, the pioneering agreements would have us.
But are they gonna pay that plus all the interest we're doing? They're not gonna pay this whole
No.
bill.
A pioneering agreement will only reimburse us for our actual construction costs.
Right.
And is Pierre, what I'm willing to sign a pioneering, I know that they don't want to change their status, but
I mean, verbally, Dane was like, yeah, I think we wouldn't have a problem, but yes, have we got into numbers and details? No.
I just didn't know if they'd be willing to sign, because then that's the guarantee. If you don't
Exactly.
have a signed agreement, there's no guarantee.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and that's all part of this process. You're just looking for a green light for us, but you missed all my curb gutter and sidewalk. I've been working on it for 7.5 years.
Well, that is not eligible under this fund.
Why not? It's to keep the storm
It's
drain
not
from
water
running.
and sewer.
If you go back to.
So going back to your original statement, we
Yeah,
can give you the rest, the green light. Go through all the planning process, do everything that we need to, and if we get to that, we're not in cement yet.
Yeah, there, like I said, there will be a
Then-
little
then
outlay
we
of
can
money,
say,
but
whoops, we
not.
wanna we want to step back from this and no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Until we actually decide to take the money.
Until we do a project and we ask for money to reimburse that
So we
project.
get to the point where we know this can be real.
So the most we're talking right now is man hours and $25,000.
Well, and not even the 25,000 until the EPA comes back and says, yeah, you guys are green lighted. Submit your actual application. It's just consultant fees at this point. Which
And I'm
can
with
count
you.
towards
I like that
our
it's
20%.
open-ended and we don't have to take the money. I would like to see 8 or 9 projects on there that are contingent. You know,
Yeah,
upon
absolutely.
that, hey, if we get to the end of this and that pioneering agreement came in and paid for a large chunk of it, the city here, and we're sitting pretty, you know, we've got a little bit of money, we can, you know, change a sewer line out somewhere that wasn't really necessary right now, but might be in 10 years as this is coming forward.
To Dave's point, the biggest, obviously, there's a lot of money you're trying to pay back.
Right.
The biggest risk is the economy goes to crap and we've already started all these projects and now nobody's developing and obviously we're still on the.
So if we're looking
Which is why
at,
the rate
this
studies
just
are
covers
important.
the utilities in the road, is that 14 million? Is that what I'm seeing there? Or what would that? What would be the bare minimum to get underneath the Mount Eagle Beltway? So that we. Down to there?
32 million, roughly. I mean, it could be up or down. Like I said, Consor should have, I have a meeting next week, me and Jonathan do with Fieldstone Homes. Consor will have all of our modeling done, so then I'll know what these sizes of pipes are rather than.
So, and how many houses were you talking?
7,400.
So 32 million divided by 7,400.
And that does not currently include Southern Farms, which is another 5,000 if you as the council were to approve that when they ask for annexation.
That was that what we looked at the other day that they were talking about?
Want to say anything?
No.
Like I said,
Kathy needs a brown paper bag.
I got one full of donuts, pass them down.
Here's the question. But the end, the nice thing in this is even if we do give you the green light, I can't vote, but you know, but if the council gives you the green light, we can do all this, we can have it hammered down to know exactly what's gonna be responsibility, exactly what it's gonna take to pay it back. And we can get to that point and say, oh, we can't do it, so sorry.
At least that's what they've told us.
Yeah, and that's what I remember them telling.
So I
I
have
see
a
what-
question for our attorney.
We're glad we hired you an assistant right when you need one.
So, let's say that, you know, we don't know all the players are gonna come in and do development and everything. We know the church, but they might not sign the pioneer agreement. Can we have an ordinance here? We put all these utilities in. Anybody that connects to these, they have to pay a certain amount and have that in ordinance. So it covers us no matter who comes in, even without development agreements.
Yeah, I think we can put something in there.
I think then pretty well.
That
alleviates some of their
That's why I
It
put the
alleviates some
number
of the
out there.
risk.
So you can take the 12,000 and divide it by the 32 million.
The challenge,
This is a bare minimum. This is an overhead cost that,
Ability.
this is a new, if you build and attach to this infrastructure, this is an impact fee that is required.
And it gives us up, if we do sign on the dotted line, it could
Actually
give
do
us up
it.
to 47 years to pay it up,
Process and get created.
pay it up, right?
but I think we could probably
Go
put
for
in there
47 years.
that.
We could take a vacation every month.
You know, developers gonna have to pay
5
for
to
that
7 years.
when they
Yeah,
connect
so
to it.
it's, so
Like we do with the connection.
you can
but put it in
defer
ordinance.
repayment of the loan up to 5 years after substantial completion of the first project. So like the Nebo Beltway, it's not gonna start till 2027, it's gonna take 2 years probably to build. So we're talking 2029, that means we wouldn't have to start repayment until 2034. Which then gives plenty of time for PRI to start putting stuff in. Gives plenty of time for other people to start tying into it and us to start recouping some of that cost up front.
I'm looking at these numbers Travis threw up there. You would have to include the water tank and the upsize of the water lines for that, which would put you at about 512. $524
$500
per unit.
That's nothing.
That I don't think is, I think that's worth the gamble for us. And we wouldn't even be on the hook for that much. But
You're
if
just
we
talking
could,
interest, right? Which,
what's that?
Gotcha, I just put 40 million in if we
Yeah.
added a water tank, so that'd be like $333 a home.
Yeah, which is really not that much if we worm that in, because this is projected growth. This is infrastructure that is solely affected by development, so we can put that in as an impact fee. So that could be an impact fee. That this whole thing could feasibly be paid back in 10 years or 50 years, depending on how many people
well, I think it's 35 years maximum
to pay it back.
repayment period, once you start repaying, but like I said, you have 5 years to defer, so you're 40 years potential repayment period.
But you're paying interest the entire time, correct?
But only on what you've drawn. So if you say year one, you draw 2 million, you start paying interest on that 2 million. And then year 3, you draw another 5. Well, then you start paying interest on that 5
Okay.
also, but only
So if
as you draw.
If you wait the 30 years and draw the majority of it in the last 5 years, you have to pay it back in 5 years then.
I don't think
Well,
that
if
you
you pay
go-
back, the most of you paid already.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how this works is.
Yeah, 'cause I don't
You
think-
start paying it back and every time we borrow money, that payment balloons up until it's.
Well, because you wouldn't you wouldn't have projects in there that are gonna take you 30 years to build.
Right.
So that's,
But that's fine, just,
right.
but the water tanks might.
One thing I'd like to find out, let's say a developer comes in and they pay $4 million to tie into this, can we pay a whole chunk?
Absolutely, yeah. You can pay off as fast as you want. There's no penalties.
I think this is a CYA issue. If we put that into our impact fees, it's gonna cover our assets. Yeah, I did that. I did. Well, you're so smart. I graduated from middle school.
Also, if we put in our ordinance for pioneering agreement.
Yes, and a pioneering
Well, you
agreement.
got it
would-
covered 2 ways.
Yeah, it would
You
be.
got the impact fees and the pioneering agreement.
Would that be a double dip issue, Kathy? Could we get away with that, or would that cause us streams down the road?
Ask your attorney.
Because if we set it up, the impact fee there, if they paid it back through pioneering agreements, we would still have that impact fee because we're gonna have, then you could use it for other water projects that would need to be a new irrigation pond, things like, hey, my pond's not on there.
I don't know if you could double dip because you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, your impact fee study would have to be for the system, the big trunk lines.
Right.
And if you did that, I mean, if you're paying it back by impact fees, I don't know how you could charge like PRI, all their houses for impact fees. You're gonna charge an impact fee, plus you're gonna say you gotta pay back through a pioneering agreement. I think you have to do one or the other.
Right, to say one falls through, you gotta back up.
Right.
Yeah, the redundancy in it,
I think for cities for small cities like us, where there's a lot of growth coming and it's always a hard thing because you have to spend money to get your utilities in. So I see this as something that's probably a good thing to go through. I'm just sick to death about the debt that we have. I mean, you look at the sewer plant. We bring in about just under $7 million per year from our user rates. And our annual payment is 4 million. So how do you run a department on $2 million with all the, and I know it's easy to say, well, it's only 55 million. We did 40 million for the sewer plant. We did 39 million for the power plant. We're getting up over 100 million. Before COVID hit, I think we had less than $20 million for the whole city, every department.
Yeah.
And so it's just hard to, I mean, it's easy, we don't have to make payments for 5 years, but the interest doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
And, 55
Is this a
million,
better
just like the
rate?
40 million, it's gonna be $4 million. So yeah, we're gonna have to raise rates a lot to cover that, and especially if the growth doesn't come. The trunk line that we put out to Woodland Hills and Elk Ridge, we thought we're gonna pay that back. The growth stopped and we paid 90% of that with our user fees. Because growth stopped, so that's always a challenge. I'm not trying to put a damper on it, I'm saying, when we're a small city and we don't have the tax base to be able to do some of that on our own. You have to be prepared for growth. So
And that's why the government, when you do a bond, as you know, they won't let you use your impact fees to count towards it. You can pay for it.
you can use your impact fees, but you have to show the people you're lending from that your user rates are gonna cover the bond payment.
Right.
And this doesn't tie into that, so.
Well, yeah, but they still wanna see.
They will,
essentially the same
they will
thing.
wanna know what we
Like
can
they
pay
did
for it.
say that this is gonna be a lot of Kathy's time to help get through this, because they have to go through a lot of information with her. And obviously with us.
If we were able to benefit from this and use that to do the sewer. we have all of it in one place. Would that make our
My mom
sewer
has
go
an
down?
extra.
Would they stay about the same?
It
Have an
obviously,
extra long
you know, it's
board.
just like,
It
we
does.
have to-
It's a way long.
To find out.
it's like when we have to start paying our Central Utah back, right, for our water. Like Dave and I, we just met with them a couple weeks ago and that's a whole different discussion, but yes. Like if we pay for it over 50 years compared to 40 years, obviously our payment is less per year because we're paying for it over 10 more years. But, you know, then you're paying for water that obviously we can't use 5,300 acre feet of water.
Right now.
That many houses you get.
Oh, there's just a
But
lot of
again, I
towns.
think we would be ill-advised if we didn't go to the very threshold of doing this. Especially since there's no obligation till we sign on that line, then we would know what our parameters are.
The only problem I see with
There's always these
a big number
down.
versus, you know,
And that's-
72 million versus $32 million is that we have to justify it in our rate schedule. And we have to put that in there and say, we are willing to go to this amount in order to meet that criteria to pay it back in the 35 years. And that, it'll make us look bad if it doesn't work out that way.
Those are the kind of things we can find out if we go up to that.
And that's where your rate studies, like we've
I'm
talked
about
about.
to say I need more sugar, but don't.
That's where your rate studies, you build that in of, okay, how much over 5 or 10 years do we have to raise each utility to cover this, right?
Yeah.
And that will come into play and we'll have those answers, because there are, like I said, there are some things we're gonna have to do to get to where we can do all this, but.
I definitely want to see what it would cost the current utility users if we put this in and nobody builds. Then what is it gonna cost us? Because that is a possibility.
Yep.
I mean, it is.
I think
and-
That's remote.
Can I also jump in on that
Impossible.
comment? Because I think it's an important one. I think that we need to be prepared as a city to make good decisions with our infrastructure. I think that we need to, it is incumbent upon us, and especially as you as council members, to think into the future and think, how are we going to make it possible for all of these things to come about? My caveat to that, and it's not necessarily a caveat, it's just a reality check to say, you're also saying, we are going to grow. We need to make that commitment. Like if we're contemplating this type of bonding and money and borrowing and things like that, like we need a strong commitment to say, we've planned for this growth, we are going to see it through. And to actually see the plan come about. Because sometimes the message that we get back is like, oh, this is kind of scary. And we understand that, but we planned for it. And so if we plan for it, let's commit to it. And if we're not committed to it, let's have that
I
conversation.
think we have to be committed to, because everybody around us, well, I've said this 1,000 times, even as a police officer, everybody around us is gonna grow. We can't control that. And if everybody around us, grows, the companies that we're gonna need to fund our projects are all going to go to other cities while we sit here with all the same problems and none of the money to take care of. So we have to grow.
Well, and I think it's always important to remember that cities are living organisms, right? Like they either grow and they're alive and they're functioning, or they stop and they die. I'm from a community like that has seen, you know, incredible shrinkage in their growth, and it's really sad. We have to manage it well, And I think honestly, this is one way that we can manage that growth well, is because it puts us at the forefront of determining where our infrastructure needs to be, how it can be achieved, and puts us in a way that we can be comfortable with that rate of growth and making sure that we're at the forefront of making those decisions.
If we don't grow, all we do is fund the other cities that will grow. That's all we do.
Bedroom community.
That's right.
Robert, going back to your thing about what our commitment is. We're only here for a little short time on the city council, so we kind of have to look for a long term and project what others might be thinking too, and not just what our personal thing is right now. But we have to look out for the city for the long term.
And that's why we bring you the best plans that we possibly can. And I think that these are the ways that we implement those plans.
And the simple fact of the matter is that for whatever reason, these companies that we want to have come to Payson don't look at our, the demographics around us. They look at our city itself and the house stocks that the city has. Why they won't look at demographics, I don't know, but they don't. If we don't have the house tops, we don't get the benefit of their business.
We are getting a second McDonald's. Progress is coming.
That's big tonight.
Are we getting a second McDonald's?
We are getting a second. We're getting a second McDonald's. Down by Popeyes. And before you say, people are obviously patronizing the one that's here and they want to patronize another one, so that's why it happens. That's
The different franchisees, though different owners.
I think so.
It might be a corporate versus a privately owned.
I bring that up because, so I live in Springville and along Fourth South, there are two McDonald's just along that street itself. And then there's so many things. And I remember like, there were so many
But you're
different,
getting a Chubby's now too.
yeah, we have a Chubby's. But I remember all of these people were so upset. Why are we getting another McDonald's? Because you go there. That's the reason.
And they're both
That's
right by
the
the
reason.
freeway and we get a lot of freeway participation.
Back to this conversation though, as I'm sitting here thinking outside the box, and my analogy is we've ordered a freight train and we don't have any tracks to put it on. And that is the key here. If we don't get the tracks down, that freight train's gonna come in here and it's gonna be a mess.
Well, you just gotta start it.
Yeah,
It's just like the sewer plant. We should have done it when it was 25 million instead of 85 million.
And the thing that triggered that was the state came and told us.
yeah, we don't wanna,
Cost.
we're not listening to the state anymore. But I would be interested to know where if like we did throw some of these other water projects in here, we have one chance to jump off of this bridge into the water, and if we miss it, it changes it. You know, and so if there are some little projects out there, you know, if we did put storm drains throughout the city, you know, and added, I wanna know what the bare minimum would be at the 32 million and then say 75 million. I just wanna know that, what it would cost.
And we have that ability.
And with this program, all we have to do is be able to verify it and we can say, okay, we're willing to gamble this. Because we really don't have to charge the people, we just have to prove what it
Well,
would cost.
and there's nothing that stops us either from, hey, we're having great success with this one and these projects that we put in this first package. Let's apply for another one. And we asked the ones if we could add projects to it and increase the amount. I don't know if she said she's never second one.
25,000.
Well, then-
Population.
I think the population.
Because it's saying, though, when we sign on the dotted line, we're locked into that interest rate. If we modify it, then that makes us vulnerable to the existing rate. I'm pretty sure she said that.
So it sounds like you guys are willing to allow us to at least pursue. it.
Yeah,
you have to pursue
We'd have to
that.
spend some dollars to do the
And
engineering.
don't make her stay up at night.
There you go.
So when we break the business,
It's impossible.
So yeah, that's really what we're looking for is to get on board to push through the process to get us to that point where we say, okay, this is what Withia said. Here's our next step if you guys want to pursue it.
Can we bring it back to council do work session before we give the final approval?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll obviously, I mean, it's not too far in the future that we're gonna have to pay UDOT to have Horrocks put this in there too. So that's kind of the two quick things that we.
Travis has got it in his budget.
And if we
Somewhere.
request the big number in that 35 years, do we have to use all?
No.
No. 800,000, we just got.
If we-
The shovel-ready one that needs to be
That's really all that they.
This is coming. The state's gonna lay that asphalt. If we're not underneath them before they get there, we're hosed.
But I mean, we're gonna have to do a budget amendment, obviously cover some of this, plus we can give you. As soon as we get to a certain phase of this, we can come back and have another quick work session and update you and give you everything.
I think we need to keep you involved all the way along.
Oh,
Get
absolutely.
Information.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, we didn't say go.
This is my one question. There are two of us on the council that will only make this another 9 months, guaranteed. So it does put the weight on three of you that you may have to carry this beyond January 1st, 2026. And if you're a little bit squeamish, then that,
Well,
It
it
might be,
really
but-
only takes, what is she, 3 to 6 months to get funded.
Oh,
if
then
we
it doesn't
start-
matter.
If
So
we
we can
start
blame it
now,
on you guys on
so we
that
can
now.
easily get funded by the end of the year.
And we want to blame it on you guys.
that's perfect.
So council, is it okay if we just tell them, go ahead?
Let's go ahead.
Okay.
We don't need a vote, we just need direction.
Yeah,
We'll
I just
go
wanted
forward with
to
that.
see if anybody's gonna say hell no.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy.
Oh, sorry, Kathy, you're voting.
We're going out for a drink after this.
I can feel the blood pressure like radiating.
Have a,
Okay.
or you just look for the.
You can,
This other item on there, the utility and
do
transportation
you want
study.
to sign into this?
Well, that's short, Dave.
I could do
You've
that.
heard from me too much.
Dave was the downer on the last one, Travis.
On this next one, we're gonna tag team the three of us. That's
That's
why we're
right.
sitting together. You can throw all sorts of darts at us. No, but I gotta log into Zoom because I don't have an extra connection.
What was it?
Oh, yeah, I saw Ann do it. Dave owes me a steak dinner as well as Ann because I
Yeah, that's right.
in the council meeting.
I
gotta stay there.
Oh.
It should be on your calendar.
I missed that, I should have.
I didn't even notice.
I saw it, I was a witness.
I didn't see it.
But it's only a steakhouse in Payson.
You did too, you started laughing.
Well, we
One
might
more
have to-
takeout.
Well played.
Long one.
It just gives
I
you
like
some
that.
time. That's a 35-year lead.
So good.
I'm just logging in, sorry. Sorry, I should have been doing that before.
Oh, gosh.
Shouldn't
No, we're talking.
Somebody keep talking. So it
I
doesn't-
wonder about the water.
Stop it.
What do you wanna know about it? Well, ask me after this.
I think I should be popping up.
Just with that, with you,
There we go.
if you take that ditch and pull the water out of it, but still use it as storm drainage, we need to do something different to it because it will not, if it goes dry, it won't hold water.
Here you are.
I got one for you. About on the four bay.
You missed that? I was pretty explicit about that one.
Okay.
Was I not, Travis?
Come on, Brad.
That was the 75 million. I would have had 20 million on the top line. We go that very down there. And the thing I like the best about that is it included water. Or power.
Can I share?
Honestly,
Do you remember Sean's cost estimate?
I know. It was pretty good.
I'm really.
But what I'm saying is that if you're looking at that, maybe that pond is a good way, because we could split it and take it down both sides of Peak Mountain. And pressurize that side as well as the other side if we need additional storage facility. So that's why we do these, add it to it for PI or it's PI, well, we put a power plant on the bottom of it.
Already.
And you bore right through the mountain, right?
No,
They're both.
Ready, set, go.
All right,
Jay, now we're ready for the utility
we're, we want to talk about utility and transportation fees and different types of fees. I know we had a work session. We just want to make sure we know what the council's thoughts are. There's no decisions that need to be made, but we want your direction.
That's the right one, by the way.
So I just put a couple things up here. Payson Cities, we've held a truth and taxation hearing each year since 2016. I said except COVID, but I think we did schedule one. We just decided not to do anything that year, but so we've gotten the habit of doing that. Generally, the council would keep the certified tax rate the same as the previous year. It is a tax increase, but it's just keeping that the same. It's greatly helped with increased costs in the general fund. And it's also a way to finance certain general fund obligations, like police officers we've done in the past, and fire equipment. We talked down at the retreat about, or maybe it was another work session about fire station that we need to get built.
That was sent out.
That was at the retreat.
Was that at the retreat?
Yeah.
No, it's not sent out to bid. We
Well,
talked,
just a proposal or whatever, wasn't it?
The design.
yeah, we've got.
That takes water.
Not the same.
So what we've done, and we do this every year, we have alerted the county that we may hold a truth and taxation hearing. We don't have to do that, but we have to give them notice early on, like in February. One of the examples, like we say, is the fire station at a previous work session. It seemed like, and maybe I'm just remembering that the council wasn't really in love of paying for the fire station partially, maybe not all. And I put here, we may be able to use some fund balance, but depending on the other projects that we need, we may need to do this truth and taxation hearing for a fire station. And we can talk specifically about the fire station if you want to again. Brett.
Can I back up one point? When you say we've alerted Utah County, not that far back. When we put that out there, I think it's important for the citizens to know that as the city grows, those truth and taxation hearings are required every year. Otherwise, we lose that potential increase of income off of the new houses. Because that's really what that taxation does, is allows us to continue to tax at the same rate, but receive additional funds for additional people. And if there was a way to eloquently write that in the newsletter when it's announced, I think it'd be really
Well,
beneficial to
what
us.
the county does, what the certified tax rate is, and we generally don't get that certified tax rate until June. Do we?
Yeah.
The end of May,
This is
June,
hard before
which
the-
is frustrating because it's hard to plan when you don't know what that's gonna be, but what Utah County is supposed to do is they wanna keep what you receive in property tax the same. So
Yes.
if in a year we have 100 new homes, then they usually propose to lower our tax rate so that the same money comes in. And then the only new property tax we get are the new homes we get for the next year. And so every year they will lower, or they'll propose that they will lower the certified tax rate unless we take action to say, no, we want to keep it at that rate.
So, and it's like, if it's $20 million for the city of Payson and we built 12,000 homes in 1 year, the next year we still only get $20 million.
But.
Right, because that'll lower the tax rate.
Exactly. But we only get the benefit of that, of 12% of what the property tax is.
Right, no, and I
It's just
understand
our
that,
city
that's,
portion.
but that's still the city portion. We just want to make sure that if we're collecting enough money to cover our cost per person, if the population doubles, we need to double the amount of money we're collecting.
So that's
percent
kind of,
population.
that's kind of the first question is, we haven't necessarily said yes or no, we're gonna do truth and taxation, but we'd like your kind of direction on, is that what you want to do?
I would say yes, because of this very thing. There's a lot of houses going in, and if we're approving them, we need to make sure that we're
And
maintaining.
it gives us a real true picture of what is out there.
Right.
And I know with my, my house the last 2 years, even though we went with truth and taxation went up, they went down because you're adding other houses, so it doesn't mean everybody's house is.
And the property valuations are lower than they were.
They were lower than a year or so ago.
Right.
It's just a tool. When I first became city manager, I went to a couple of city managers, conferences up in Salt Lake, and I remember, cause I don't think we had a truth and taxation hearing for 30 years or so. And I know Spanish Fork said, we haven't had one for 40, but one city up in Salt Lake, I don't remember what it was, he said, look, we decided, just like every utility rate, we evaluate that every year. Because that's one of the revenue sources that the city has. And he said the first time we did a truth taxation, the council room was full. People were upset, and he said they just did it every year, and now you hardly get anything. Well, the first year we did it, I think we had 2 people. And we've had, I think last year we had 4 or 5.
There was a year we had a lot.
But the thing of it is
Like 20%.
if you do it every year and you just do small increments, it's not as noticeable. I'm not saying it's still a burden. But I remember Salem, and Brad, were you over there when Salem did that? Brad was a Salem employee that they hadn't raised property taxes for years and years, and they proposed 100% increase. And so, yeah, they were full, weren't they? Well, and then they pulled it down to 70 and people were happy, but it was still 70% increase.
Well, start with 200 and go down to
The employee that was during that 30-year probably period, and before you know it, you're so damn far behind, you have one hell of a time getting back up.
Yeah, and that's why I think if it was actually just city policy that it was done every year and made the agreement, then we just do it, and then the percentage is always changed.
Another thing, it helps with bonding too.
Yes, it does. Gives you better interest rate.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to talk you into this, because like I say, we've done it, and I think previous councils have bought into at least looking at it every year.
Well, I think Teresa and I were here when we decided to start doing it every year.
Yeah.
Well, I think we started before. When did you start?
I think you did, we were here in
It was a year or 2 before.
18.
Yeah, it was a year.
But it was a year or 2 before. That's when we said, no, we just need to do this every year.
Yeah.
You had done it, you'd taken the brunt of it off of us. We did say, let's go ahead and continue.
Continue to do it.
It doesn't hurt.
No, I'm not.
I was on the council.
Yes.
Brad on the back.
And this is just an example, and this is not we don't need a discussion on the fire station, although someday we're gonna have to figure out what to do with the fire station. But this is, I think we showed this at the retreat, that we would have to raise property taxes sufficient. We probably couldn't just hold the certified tax rate, have to move it up a few percentages, but it would be, if we raised it up to enough to pay the bond payment to build a new fire station, it'd be $101 a year for a property of about $450,000, 400,000.
Better start doing by 550.
Yeah, I know, we might need to, but I guess the thing of it is, it's about $8 a month.
But
Increase on your
still, if you
property.
look at your growth, and if we just keep edging that out just a little bit, that will eventually.
Well,
absolve it.
And the positive part of it, if we have to build another fire station to reduce the response times to parts of the city, and it will reduce their fire insurance rates because we paid
Use
it.
impact fees.
And I think Scott's trying to get a presentation to come and do another work session, but it's just, you've seen with you know, we've got a lot of utility infrastructure stuff, and so we talked about the fire station, but the thing I don't want to do, and if you guys want to do it, we're fine to do, but Spanish Fork has done in the past where they just said, they put it out on a general obligation bond where the people vote on it. And they did that for the rec department, the rec center, and the citizens turned it down, and they did it anyway. And they've been turned down, and it's difficult to get a general obligation bond passed, because nobody wants their taxes raised. But my point is, if we really need a fire station, then I don't see the need to put it out for a vote, because if we need it, we need it. And if the citizens turn it down, what are we gonna say? Well, sorry,
Anyway.
we're not gonna do it, or else we're gonna do it anyway. So this was just a way that we do property tax every year, and it would be a slightly bigger increase, but it's a way to make bond payment.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the specific, but truth in taxation is one thing. Kathy, Robert, anything?
This is just an example based on 2004. We'd have to update the bonds. And it was based off the $10 million sewer bond, so the rates might have changed too, so.
They might have changed a little bit. It's pretty close to what it would cost.
Right.
I don't know, council, I bet I've heard from you. Anybody else thoughts on truth and
I wanna
taxation?
do truth and taxation myself.
You wanna have it as an option?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I think it's transparent and it needs to get precedence for us and it's a good tool. And then it's out there, we set the rate and we don't have to go that way. We can't go above what we
That's right.
publish. But we can definitely go under.
Yeah, we can go
We've
under.
always gone under.
Yeah, we've always gone
Yep,
under, which is
and-
All the years I've been.
And I think the last couple of years, we just put certified, but a couple of years, we put it higher, not meaning we did go there, but we at least put it out there to say we can go up this
Yeah.
high. And so,
Well, the one year we did it, we wanted to add some police officers.
Yep.
But we put the police officers in there and then we put a new PA or a new sound system in the council chambers as the very last item on there and everybody thought we raised their taxes to pay for it. So.
And we need to make it clear that it's only 12%.
still not in.
and it's not, but we got an invoice for it, so it's coming.
But we need to make it crystal clear that it's only 12% that we can affect.
Yes,
It doesn't
that's
affect the
right.
whole, property tax.
And that's where everybody gets up in arms just because they pay $2,000, $3,000 a year.
All the county.
All those school teachers.
We have no control.
Well, you know what? I've had conversations with Doug. You and I will talk about this later because I'm not on board with what's going on.
No, we appreciate discussion. We've got the answer we need now. We'll at least plan for it. Again, there's a lot of off ramps as we go, but it's helpful to at least know that. Okay, CPI rate for utilities. Should we go? Do you want to take this one, Robert?
Sure. So for the last 10 years or so, we've done the rate increase based on the consumer price index. So essentially, how much everything is going up, we just adjust our rate according to that. The rates of everything that we have to pay goes up, and so we
In the history of government in Payson, has it ever gone down? Have we ever lowered to follow the CPI? That's probably not, right?
not in
No.
my history of Payson.
Yeah, no, because I think in the last 10 years, it hasn't gone down, the CPI, but yeah.
What did you see during the recession, like 08 through 12? Did you ever see it?
That's a can of worms.
We weren't doing it then.
But that was before we started doing the CPI increases.
Yeah.
Oh, that. Good point, Tyler. If we had a negative consumer price index, we go into recession.
And I don't know if they can force the cities, luckily we are in it.
We have to really
Isn't in it.
look at
But the
that.
cities that are, they may be forced to take it.
And that's where
Where are
rate
they gonna
studies
find
will
the
be
workers?
helpful is
And
you
keeping
can,
coal
you do
contracts.
different, options and say, what if we do this?
And then when the new
And that
administration
will help
comes,
figure out what is that
they're
impact,
taking on a lot of risk.
or like what you guys had to do with power, if you say you gotta raise it,
Well,
well, let's say $20 a month in water. And we do that over 5 years, and what's that impact per year rather than wait, and then you have to do one payment, $20 a month.
Exactly, and so that's a perfect segue into this next part of, last year we talked about electric rates. And council last year was supportive of a 5.4 increase for the next 5 years. Making sure that covers, that's for power. To Travis's point, we really want to do some rate studies to determine what the proper rate for water, sewer, garbage, storm drain, all of those should be for this next year to make sure that we're not overburdening our residents and our existing residents and stuff. Make sure that we're charging the correct rate on the services that we need to provide, on the improvements that we need to do to our systems, all of those things. And so we just wanted to get a little bit of direction from you. We have not included that CPI rate increase in our current budget, but we're having a really difficult time balancing the budget. And this would be a little bit of a help to provide that additional resource. We're already looking at maybe loaning some, like the electric department, the power department, the sewer department, some cash to cover their needs for this year. But the bottom line is, will they be able to pay those funds back if we don't increase the rate? Those are not grants, those are loans.
Well, it just goes back to if we have to keep supplementing it, at some point, then.
And really, I think it's important as you guys think about the residents of Payson City, like, we never want to overburden them. But what is a better situation to a terrible problem? That everything gets more expensive. So do we do it incrementally in small amounts over time and keep up with it as best as we can? Or say, no, we're not gonna raise rates, but then all of a sudden
70%.
we have to go to a huge amount to cover that, right?
The way I look at CPI is just, that's what it costs our increase, so we gotta pay for that some way. If we go like this and our costs like this, it just widens that gap. So to me, it's just like a yearly thing, do the CPI and then just keep up with everything and then it's expected and they know what's happening, you know?
And I think it's up to us to run this as much like a business as we can for the residents to remain solvent.
And do the study so we don't overburden.
And we don't want to overburden them.
So I have a question about how many seniors do we have? They're just like literally on their social security. I mean, do we know how many seniors we have? Because we are burdening a lot.
I don't
Those are
know.
the ones that are really hurting. I mean, I know my mother-in-law, we stepped in and paid everything after she turned 70 because all she was living on was social security. We paid for everything. But a lot of people don't have that ability. So how do we protect those
Can I get
people?
on your list?
She's gone and
I'm getting
I'm
close to
still,
70.
I'm still paying her
But
wages.
to a certain extent, and this sounds really cold, we have that responsibility to.
We
protect
don't, but you know what? I still think,
As best as we can.
yeah,
we
that's,
should, as
I
best as
think,
we
and
can.
we
Makes
need to let
financial
them know that they can go in and they can
Right.
file to have it so that they
Right.
don't have to pay all that.
That's what we
extra.
need to do a better
We
job of
do,
educating.
yeah, because I know that's available
Right.
For the county, you can go
for
in.
people who can't afford it.
That's right.
I mean, I know they're
That's a
probably
good
get,
point.
my
That's a
mother
really good
gets $1,100 a month.
I don't know that we can ever find out how many we have, but if we set up
And I
a
think-
program where they can come in and say, hey, I
I
need
think
help,
we
then
really
we
could
can
do a good
provide
job
that.
I think we need to really push
Providing
that.
good resources.
And I think we need to have them out there at the desk and let these older people know that, hey, if you're below this amount, you can go in and you can get
Is that
help
the
with
county?
this.
I don't know that they really come in here about.
But we could utilize the senior citizen
We
center
can
though.
use it.
right.
We need to let them know because I know that when my mother-in-law did it, it took a lot for her to do it.
So-
There was a lot of steps.
Well, and I think that's something that we could do.
We need to help people do
Preemptively
it.
as we go through the budget process to say, oh, these are the things that we're proposing, but we are cognizant of those people that this might affect inordinately.
You killed me.
Here's some additional resources that you can
We
look
need to
into.
do that.
To trace it as a property tax, right?
The other thing that,
Yeah. Well, no, not just property taxes,
So the circuit breaker.
but also, yeah, but also the electrical and the heat.
Program.
Okay.
And that,
And there's probably quite a few things out there that people don't know.
Consolidated.
Yeah.
through that, there's some heat programs and different things that we can come
Yeah.
into play.
There's quite a few, but we don't let people know that.
There are resources out there.
Yeah.
It's just
We need to let them know it.
getting those resources out there in education wise is difficult.
no, the other thing I was gonna say, and I think this was brought up in the other part of the meeting, but under the state law and the code, we don't have to hold a public hearing to raise our utility rate. But the last several years, we have held a public hearing just to let people know. And like I say, it's not mandated by the code, but it's something that, and I think you guys that have been in here used to it, say, yeah, here's what we're planning on doing. Here's the CPI increase and here's what we're doing, just so people come and have a chance to come in and voice their concern. So, and we would continue that if, again, we just wanted to, I don't know if I just felt the vibe, but at our retreat, it just felt like that some of these things, it was like, no, we're not really interested in raising rates and doing that. And so I've been a little nervous and I had Kathy, don't put it in this time. But as we try to balance the budget, it's like, oh, let's have a discussion with
We're
the
trying to
council.
help Dave sleep at night. Because he's waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning worried about the budget.
Well, you know, when we did have that open, we had the people out at the 5850 over
Yeah,
Heritage Village. They came in and we were able to explain it, and by the time they left, they said, oh, we understand. So I think
it's good to get the word out as best we can. Anyway, so if we did a CPI increase and this is something you know, we can plan for it, we can have public hearing, but I just had Kathy run the numbers. If we were to do that, I think it's close to 3%. This last year was for CPI. It would be, no, I can't even see. that.
$11.80 a month.
It'd be about $120, $130 a year.
I think the worst part about it was perception from us. Wow. I don't. Is we talk about these rate increases, but it's always power's the fault.
It is.
And I think
Well,
electricity.
you notice that's the highest rate.
Electricity demands have gone way up
It has.
in the last 15 years.
Well,
And the cost of it has gone up as well, and it's people using it.
There's
You know, we got-
Nobody's gonna give up their AC.
What's that?
Nobody's gonna give up their AC.
No,
They
for the
can
computer or the.
every October.
I know, $11.80.
They cannot.
There's just a lot of infrastructure.
But
that's why
I was 18 years. I have the same sleepless nights because I'm looking at, we could need 3 substations right now. And we're trying to grow in all directions. I wish we could concentrate on either growing in the north,
I
growing
know.
in the south or the east. We're growing in all directions and we need substations all over the place. And I'm freaking out because they're 5 million to 6 million each. And
So what did you find out when you went back, went back there? What about the?
We asked for them to help with manufacturing transformers to help streamline
Because
that.
everybody else is having the same
Everyone,
problem.
yeah, it's 3.5 years when you order one generally to get one for a substation, and then the household type ones were over a year. So we have companies complain all the time, developers, they'll be planning all this stuff. And then they won't give us money until, like, the one, it was like in November. And we go, we're a year out from getting the switches and transformers and stuff, and they want them now. And it's only been, what, 4 months? And we told them what was gonna happen, but they're not hearing that.
So
They're
what
not
did
seeing
they
it.
say back in Washington?
In Washington, they listened to us, asked what some of the problems were. I think tariffs on copper and aluminum, we said that might cause problems. There's a thing with the IRA, which is the energy bill. You have to go domestic. And so there's kind of a bottleneck happening with the domestic transformer manufacturers, domestic manufacturers, and they're kind of like, and it's kind of costing more if you go do the IRA Act, but then you get some grants and stuff like that. And so, it's just making kind of a mess and kind of focusing the whole market on a small area.
So if they got rid of that IRA thing, would that help?
It may, because then people might go buy foreign, but then like us,
Well, we're gonna
Payson,
pay
we
more
buy
anyway.
domestic.
Yeah, well, that's what we wanna do.
Yeah, we want to buy domestic, for both the residential ones and our substations, like I've always done that. And because we own them after, so the developers generally pay for the ones in our homes, we just have to worry about paying for the transmission lines and substations. And we are supposed to be able to do that out of impacts. You guys raised impacts from $2,000 last year for a 200 amp service to 4,700. So it reflects some of that, you know, when those impact fees start
Without being
rolling in,
subsidized.
and they will help. Some cities are higher. The thing is, all the stuff's doubled in price. I was buying Siemens breakers, 2018, 2019 for about $43,000. Right now they're 120 when we got the last bids. And
In
so
5 years, that's
and
crazy.
so then we went to Mitsubishi, which were always considered Cadillac, but they're Japanese. We actually bought those for the power plant because they're 80,000 each cheaper than the Siemens. And they're actually better. And so I was looking at yen
Japanese are
dollar
better.
differential, and you know, it's 151 yen to $1, and that's the worst in 40 years. So I'm like, let's buy the Japanese. So anyway, that's what we're facing. So many things. I'm getting stressed. Like we just had a transducer or transruptor. I've never seen one of these before, but they're on our transformers here in downtown substation, and the one that goes to the hospital circuit burned. And so we're not using that substation right now. We're doing repairs and stuff, but there's not the backups we need here in town. And so, yeah, I'm freaking out. So I'm scared it's gonna be like this for a few years. And you guys are gonna be, I hope it.
Well, I think to Sean's point, the council, I think council supported this. We did the study. We thought if we get these new generators in the next 5 years, it will
It should levelize.
level the rates. We can control more of what we can do and not be, subject to the market as much.
Yes. For your.
But it's painful right now because it's expensive to get them there, and
When's the last time you did a rate study on the other utilities?
I don't think we have.
It's been a while. I mean, is this gonna be one of those things where we have to go up 70-80%?
I hope not.
I think we've been raising rates.
I think we've kept up pretty good.
It's time to look at it again.
On the sewer, we're gonna have to increase because we're gonna have to go out and bond again for the balance of the plant. And right now, we're lean in that budget. There are no projects. It's just operations and personnel pretty much and debt service.
That is water in it.
There you go.
Bond for it, there's no reason.
Water, but it's water.
Those sewers allowed as part
I
of
think
it.
we ought to try and put it. Sewers are allowed or not?
Yeah.
They are.
Why would we
If we're
do
gonna
that?
bond, there's no reason to not.
If we
put that
had
there.
known about with you before we bonded for the sewer
Sure.
plant, we would have gone
Done
that way
for sure.
100%.
The council approved, a couple of years ago, I don't know if you two were on first. But the council passed a resolution that we could bond up to 70 million. And there was no way we didn't get to that. There was a lot of buffer. Now we're pushing 80. And we have grant money too, some of that. So we haven't hit that 70 million limit. But I think we're still waiting for a bid back that the state made us put another component back into the project. So we haven't got the bid on that, but I think we're not gonna we're gonna have to go to that 70 million, which the council already approved for us to do, but what Kathy's saying, we have a bond for that. That would just be an additional debt to pay.
Cause we passed over the $15 million.
Yeah, that sewer's rough.
What?
But
Will the sewer cover 7,400 homes? I wish you wouldn't ask that. I was just kidding.
So right now, we're about 2 million gallons a day is what the average flow is that goes through that plant. The new plant will be an average day flow of be able to handle 4 million with a peak of 7. So with that much growth, we will have to upgrade the plant again, just like Salem House. And the reason we couldn't go build a 10 million, there's 2 reasons. That we couldn't have built a 10 million gallon plant right now is 1, it would have cost us 150 million. And 2, you can't build a plant that much bigger than what your demand is, because then all your components just sit there and rot that you're not using.
yeah,
So, but yes, if we get that much growth, now granted, that's not all gonna come in 1 or 2
it's gonna take a long
years.
time.
Right. But we will be in the same boat Salem is right now with the BYU property, and we will have to upgrade again.
But can't you pull a lot of impact fees for that?
Well, here's the challenge. Every developer comes in here and says, well, can I get reimbursed through impact fees for all this growth that they need to put in? Which, yes, we can modify the impact fee and throw it all in there. But if your impact fees get up to $50,000 to $60,000 a home, how much pressure do you think the home builders and developers are gonna scream when our impact fees are that high?
One of the things that we did with this upgrade to sewer plant, which is a good thing, is there's a process to upgrade it. That's gonna be a lot less expensive than what we've done this time. Like you can put another ox ditch around to almost double your capacity and instead of going out and we've got the room for that, I'm assuming, Travis, because they designed it that way.
Like the headworks, we will have to throw another piece of equipment in there, but it'll already have the trough and everything. So we are doing good things, but it's just
Planning
like
for the future.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's still gonna be, I mean, it's obviously gonna be a cost.
It'll be a cost, but it won't
shouldn't
be near
hopefully be a-
Would that require any of the other departments to move? Or you're saying the square footage of
Possibly.
this site?
In, worst case scenario, it could cause that, like, we need to move the vehicle maintenance and Kent's, all his facilities, but then Kent's already gonna be stretched, because when we get that, he's gonna need a lot more garbage trucks than that. Right now, he doesn't have any room to build on anywhere to do that.
Is there any way we could put that up on the mountain? All his stuff?
I think that's at the landfill. Can we bury it?
No, but there's a lot of ground up there.
There's a lot of ground up there.
I called him and I asked him, I said, because we were looking at these big pots that we got several years ago to maybe put downtown. And I said, where are the pots that we got? And he said, well, I think they're at the landfill. It just hit me funny, like, did we bury them? Are they're for the landfill permanently, or are we storing them there? But yeah, I mean, there's maybe a possibility to do something up there at our landfill.
Then it would just be the cost of running back and forth into where they go into the city.
Yeah, in the city.
Well, yeah, but they've got to empty out there.
Yeah.
They gotta end there, so,
But they don't have, but they don't start there. Of course, they have to go there.
but it doesn't matter if it's not realized, it's still a circle.
Right, right.
The last,
I'm just looking for a place to take it.
the last thing we wanted to talk about, and we have budgeted for this, but we haven't done this. Just a quick history, the Pleasant Grove got sued for their transportation utility fee. And they spent about 3 years in court. The decision came down about 1.5 years ago that said it's legal for what Pleasant Grove did. It's a fee. It's not a tax, but it's a fee. And they did a study. And so since that time, the Utah legislature has been trying to come to grips with that and say, okay, we'll put in the code that it's legal. We'll kind of, we'll acknowledge that that's the case. But we want to make sure there's parameters there, like you have to do this study and make sure that you go through your due diligence to implement that fee. And then also they want to throw in, put in that law, there's certain things you can't charge a fee for, like you can't charge a fee for police services. A couple of cities have done that. You can't charge a fee for broadband. And I know our city talked about that 10 or so years ago when Utopia was having a rough time. And so last session, they had a compromise. There was a lot of meetings and they said, we're all on board. And at the last minute, it passed the House of Representatives. It went into the Senate. The last minute, the church got involved and said, we think we need to be exempt. The church needs to be exempt from it. And it just killed the bill that year. So this year, we have the same thing. We've got the same bill pretty much from Representative Peterson, and it's passed the House. Senator Brammer did one on the Senate side that gave the exemption to the church, and it passed the Senate side. So now there's two competing things. We don't care if both of them fail because the Supreme Court's already said cities can do this. But it's a little dicey up there at the legislature right now. But coming back to the discussion is, we've talked about in the retreat and different times how the priority the council has is we've got to fix our roads. We got to make them better. We can't do it on just what we get from Class C road funds. And so a utility fee has to be used for roads. I think you can do the curb and gutter and stuff like that, but a lot of cities are doing it. Since the Supreme Court came by, there's a lot, I think Spanish Fork's in the middle of their study. We haven't started a study, we had it budgeted for, but I think in the retreat, there was some discussion. I don't know if we want to implement that fee to the residents. And so.
So explain the fee, you're talking a monthly fee.
It goes on your utility bill as a monthly fee.
For using the roads.
And if we want our roads to be in the condition we want them, that's the only way it's gonna happen.
And that does go on the utility bill and it's a monthly fee.
I guess this, what causes me some pause is we've already raised power, we're gonna raise sewer, garbage, everything else.
Everything, I know.
Say here is an
But
extra fee.
At the same time, we're trying to build.
I know,
living
but
communities.
You could drop the current storm drain fee, get rid of it in lieu of this fee. Because this gives you the ability to use it for
Storm drain?
your roads and utilities at your discretion.
I think
It's not like an impact fee.
I don't know if we can use it for utilities
I
under the
don't
road.
think
It's
you
a
wanna do that.
transportation utility.
Yeah, but with all the EPA requirements, I think you're gonna wanna keep your storm drain so that you can keep your EPA requirements going.
I'm not saying get rid of the storm drain. I'm saying the fee that we charge residents right now, the monthly fee for storm drain, don't they have like a $10 charge or something?
It's like $5.
It's not very
$5.
much, yeah.
So you get rid of that and you replace it with this fee, and maybe this fee's $7.50.
I think we better read the code because I think it supplements your Class C road funds and you can't use Class C road funds to go fix your storm
We can
drain.
drop the fee, I'd have that conversation, but my
Yeah.
concern is, I just feel like sometimes in government, we get too comfortable and say, well, we can't figure out how to pay for something. Let's just add an extra fee or an extra tax.
And I get it, we've thrown three things now to say we want to do it, so
I just wish we could do better with what we've had and try to utilize the funds we already have better, because the big issue I see happening is if we start charging this transportation fee, then people will expect our roads to be good because they'll be paying for them. And they still won't be though. They still won't be as good as they could be because we just can't swallow that elephant with that fee.
It's
So
got- it's got-
that's my concern.
We only have three, maybe at the very most, 4 people to do the roads. So it becomes a challenge there as well.
I thought we talked about splitting that department, so we had a little bit more emphasis on roads.
We're proposing
Yeah, I
one more person in the B and C.
And I think we're looking at that when to split the superintendent
Yeah,
at the right time.
and then I'm just bringing it back up, but I think it's, I don't know, I'm having a hard time swallowing it too, because there's a lot of people that drive through our town that we're out our roads.
Well, we've been,
Is it better to maybe put it on as an additional sales tax to make that money up, and the money that's spent in here, it'd be nice to be able to just put it on gas.
Well,
But people will drive to another
seriously asking
town.
this, is there a way we could implement this every year on electric vehicles only?
I don't know if we could as a city, the state could.
They don't pay gas tax.
Brian's got some.
I got a few things on this. One is, we did a survey of the citizens of Payson. They thought our roads were very important to them. And if you even look at the survey, even on, the, about 70%, 70% thought it'd be worth spending extra city funds on fixing our road. 46% even said it'd be worth doing a tax increase for roads. And if you drop out the younger people, 50%. And that's just off a survey without even really telling them what savings this could do, because I think you look at this, I think we need to do a study with Travis. Is find out what the cost would be, a 10-year plan or something to bring our roads up to us now. And then show how much will we save.
We already did that with the LTAP study.
Okay, but we need to show how much we'll save over the long run. This isn't a short-term thing, this is a long-term thing. We're gonna save the city and the taxpayers lots of money by doing something now and starting to make progress on moving forward, instead of just sitting here and saying, we're gonna stop and we're just gonna try to do what we can do. Our roads are gonna stay the same or get farther behind instead of getting ahead of them. And then once we're ahead of them, we can save a lot of money for the city. So that's what I look at. And I think, and we already said, people said they're willing to even look at a tax to do this, so.
Well, I fell out of the box, folks. What about our lead water lines? Yeah, I know for a fact that.
No, I mean, Cameron's dealing with that because we have to. The EPA passed that, so the lead and copper rule, they
Yeah.
had to identify all of those. And we have a certain amount of time that we have to replace those.
Right, well, if we're gonna replace those, I'm not trying to up this WIFA thing up and beyond where we can even control it. But that one right there is a caveat. If we change that pipe in the ground and take those lead and copper stuff out that they're telling us needs to come out, we can put the new roads on top of it. And if we put this transportation utility fee on there as part of it, but I mean, we can't tax everybody into oblivion either. And I'm just saying that, look at it, I says, we want the bare minimum and we want the top of the mark so that we can make that decision, but we need to be educated.
And some of this could go with because we can do the underground, because we have to do the underground and fix our roads. We can't just, but some of it can be crack seal and all that. We need to get ahead on that too, but some of it has to be everything.
And I know I've talked to Councilman Rowley, one of the things is if we at least do the study, then we can see what that impact is. It still doesn't obligate us that we have to do it, but at least it gives you enough information to make an informed decision. And, if you remember when I presented that LTAP study, I mean, if we can keep our good roads good, it's a heck of a lot cheaper than when we get to where they're at on a lot of them. And then it's a full reconstruction plus the utilities. I mean, it becomes very expensive. So if we could get a lot of those roads, and then that's part of that transportation fee, your businesses will pay more because they're a bigger impact. I know that's also something you gotta be careful of, but and that's why the church doesn't like it, cause like BYU, they're a huge impact on Provo. And that's one of the reasons that Provo did it. was-
But they should pay for
Yeah.
it. They really should.
I agree.
I agree.
They really
I mean,
should.
just because they're.
I say we do the
I
study.
just don't think, it's an
So
expense.
I think it would give you the information and the data to really make a good decision. And it's just, this is really hard stuff, you guys, because the reality is we need our city to prosper well into the future. And we need to take care of some things now.
Yeah, some of us have to work till 2050.
Yeah, some of us are gonna be here for a long, long time. And, so I think being able to have the data to make those decisions that go into the future, I would just really recommend that you do.
Yeah, I'm fine looking at the data, just form for me, it's gonna be a high hurdle to get over to.
Well, and I
wanna see the numbers.
I agree, and I don't know if I like to spend the money if we don't have any inclination to do it. You know, it may only be $10,000, but it's $10,000.
Yeah.
That's kind of a discussion, but I guess if I were sitting in your seat, I would say, okay, if we're gonna implement this, then we're not gonna do the CPI 1 year. Because that's $11 a month, this might be $8 a month. But there's some, I don't know.
That's exactly where my brain's going over here, is if the CPI, you says, well, whoever dropped it when it drops, well, when that CPI drops, that's when you stick this guy in there, and away you go.
Well, and one
And
thing,
you-
so Chris Thompson, he was in my same position in Spanish Fork. He just retired, went in the consulting world. He said at Spanish Fork, they offset, they didn't raise every utility every year, but they had that rate study that they kept up. And then they would raise one or two fees, not touch the other ones, and then the next year raise the other, so that's something we could look at too. Is if we stay with those rate studies and we keep those current, then we can look at how can we really balance that, so we're not jacking everything up every year.
It's a real tough issue. We brought all this, it's hard to want to do all this stuff. I get it. And I don't want to go into more debt either, but it's just, it's where the city is at this point. We're transitioning from a small city to a bigger city, and I don't think it's gonna stop.
Are we budgeted to do this study?
We budgeted for this.
We
study.
budgeted for the upcoming budget. to do this study.
We're trying to get creative this year, trying to look at
Maybe a loan from another.
a loan or
fund
using
balance to make them
excess funds or whatever we
get
can
us on our
do,
feet. But
transfer over there, so it's not gonna get as hard this
Well, we
year.
can't.
This is definitely,
Versus
this is
that, we
definitely.
can't, I mean, it's not even, we're not being smart. We have to go with whatever the increases are, and we see them. Inflation's way up, everybody knows that things are up, we hate to raise them, but that's just the cost of living in the United States.
But unfortunately, we live in a state where obviously we're doing very well economically,
Yes.
but that also comes with everything costs more.
Well, I just wish some of the big entities like the church would help pay their share. That would help the city.
It'll be interesting the next few days what happens to that bill.
Would be a great.
Actually, Doug Welton got up in the house yesterday and said the religious Doug did not be paid.
Doug was a rock star.
And I was wondering.
Well, that's why
They raised his tithing 20%.
And that's why we have the funds we put into the electrical and water and sewer. And then we filter out of those because we can't charge property taxes on the church and schools. And so that's where we get the money from, is we charge them more for utilities.
Well, and one of the reasons I think that we as the cities and all cities have kind of fought against this exemption is because to me, it's the nose of the camel in the tent. Because if they exempt them from this fee, the transportation fee, what about if they come and say, well, we're a nonprofit organization, we don't want to pay the storm drain fee. And then what about the water fee? What about, taxes are one thing, but when you start exempting people out of fees, because fees are supposed to be, you pay to play. You need to pay if you're gonna use the water, you're gonna pay to use the power department or the power. So if you start getting exemptions on fees instead of taxes, I think it just opens up a can of worms, and I think it looks bad.
That's right.
It does.
Residents and
It
the
is a-
options.
It is, the options are not good.
So I have to cost of it, and they can build what they want because I can't discriminate against. them.
Are we to the point where we wanna finish talking about this?
I think we have some really good direction.
I
and
think
thank
we've
you.
got some good direction. We appreciate the time. It took a long time.
Motion, we move to a closed session.
Closed session.
Hey, I didn't get a second on that.
I did.
Oh, I would have seconded it for you. So, yeah.
All in favor?
Yes.
Wait.
Time and take.
Read it off your papers, you've got to put the time and
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adjourn to a closed session to discuss purchase, exchange, sell, or lease of real property
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Did
I'll
you put
second
the
it.
time in there?
at 8:55 PM.
I'll second.
Okay, do I need to do a roll call? All in favor? Oh, roll call. Starting with Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Watts,
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Hewitt. We got enough to, without,
We don't have.
Lisa, yeah.
okay, so I need to call her back in here.
We can go ahead.
Teresa, you're not gonna get a say in this. Get off with me.
We're gonna tumble down.
You don't want to go into.